Hello everyone. If you like this audiobook and want to listen to more, please consider subscribing. And if you like this video, like it as well, that it enjoy.
Chapter 17. The Culprit and the Reunion. Junpei Yoshino jerked his head up. Mahito stood in the doorway, long blue hair resting on his shoulders, a friendly smile on his face. You came. Remembering Yuji's warning, Junpei felt a knot form in his stomach. He instinctively moved to block the front of his mother's bed. I heard your mom was hospitalized, so I came to check on her. Mahito walked in with light steps. How is she? Is Auntie okay? Is it serious? The curse put on a worried expression. Junpei, you really had me worried. Junpei didn't speak. His mind was consumed by the words Yuji had written on the back of that report. He felt like he was balanced on a scale, being pulled in two directions. If Mahito-san was a good person, then Yuji was lying. But if Mahito-san was the villain, he didn't want to see that outcome. Junpei was torn. What if Itadori-kun made a mistake? What if Mahito really did just come to visit? He took a deep breath and clenched his fists. Mahito-san. That cursed object, you didn't place it there, did you? Question mark quote. Mahito's smile froze for an instant. Cursed object, what are you talking about, Junpei? I'm asking if it was you. You mean your mother is unconscious because of a cursed object? How could I do such a thing? Mahito spread his hands. Junpei, I'm the person who cares about you most. Your mom got sick, and I came to see her right away. How could you doubt me? Besides, I have no reason to do that. His voice was gentle, like coaxing a difficult child. Why would I want to harm your mom? What would I gain? Junpei, think about it. Haven't I been helping you from the start? Who dealt with those people who bullied you? Junpei bit his lip, his nails dug deep into his palms. He didn't know who to believe. Didn't know which side was genuine and which was a lie. But he thought of his mother. He thought of how she'd raised him alone. The gentle smile on her face when she said, "School is just a small fish tank." He thought of her pale face on the hospital bed. Stop playing dumb. Junpei's voice erupted. You wanted to hurt my mom. Didn't you? At his outburst, Mahito's smile vanished. The look he gave Junpei was no longer gentle or concerned, just pure, undisguised impatience. Like an adult who'd lost patience with an unreasonable child. Mahito's tolerance had limits. His disgust for stupidity was flaring up. He'd always found foolish humans revolting. Since Junpei refused to cooperate, there was no point in coddling him anymore. Kidnapping him would achieve the same result anyway. Mahito looked up, the corners of his mouth curling into a smile of pure malice. You guessed right, it was me. Junpei's pupils contracted violently. I placed that finger. I attracted that curse. I figured if your mom died, you'd depend on me more. Hate this world more. Become a nice, obedient pawn in my hand. He tilted his head, grinning. Unfortunately, that pink-haired brat intercepted it. Really annoying. Why would you do this? Why? Mahito looked like he'd heard a hilarious joke. Because it's fun. Fun, yes, fun. Don't you think so? Watching a human fall from hope into despair. He let out a soft laugh. Just thinking about it gets me excited. Also, you're just a tool. Useful when needed, discarded when not. Did you think you actually mattered to anyone? Pathetic brat. Mahito's expression twisted with disgust. Hearing this, Junpei's eyes turned red, not from sorrow, but from rage. Mahito, you hurt the most important person to me. His fists trembled, his whole body shook. I will never forgive you. I won't forgive anyone who hurts my mother. Never. Mahito blinked innocently, then smiled even wider. Oh my, so scary. He patted his chest in an exaggerated show of fear. Junpei-kun is angry. I'm terrified. He. Then come at me. He spread his arms wide, as if welcoming an embrace. With just words, you bastard. Junpei charged forward. He didn't know where his courage came from. Didn't know what gave him the right to throw a punch at a special grade curse. He only knew that Mahito had hurt the most important person in his life and trampled his trust into the dirt. But he was too slow. Mahito didn't even dodge. He simply raised his hand a fraction faster and drove his fist into Junpei's stomach. PFF'd. Junpei's eyes bulged. His mouth gaped open, and blood gushed from his throat. His body flew backward like a kite with its string cut, his back slamming hard against the hospital room wall. Bang! He slid to the floor, clutching his stomach, curling into a ball. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth onto the tile. Cough, cough, cough. Hey, at least have some self-awareness, will you? Mahito raised an eyebrow, seemingly puzzled by Junpei's sudden bravery. Do you understand, Junpei? I am a curse. You are a human, a frail, insignificant human. Mahito's mouth split open, revealing 2 rows of teeth. A bizarre, wicked grin spread across his face. The strong prey on the weak. A foolish existence like you deserves to be toyed with. Stop being so moved by yourself over there, Junpei Yoshino. You're nothing. It's just you and me here. What chance do you have? What can you change? What do you even have? As he spoke, his right arm began to twist. Skin flowed like melting wax. Muscles and bones rearranged under the effect of idle transfiguration, finally forming several sharp scythes, densely packed together. He swung his arm. The scythes whistled toward the curled-up boy in the corner like arrows loosed from a bow. Whoosh! Junpei's eyes went wide. He could only watch helplessly as the blades drew closer. Quote. He squeezed his eyes shut. Bang! A tremendous crash echoed the instant the scythes struck. Dust and smoke billowed outward. Mahito retracted his arm, the scythes reverting to normal. Strange. He stared at the dust cloud. No impact. I didn't hit anything. Just now, he'd glimpsed a flash of pink. When the dust settled, Mahito noticed that one of the room's windows was shattered. He turned toward the hospital bed. The patient was gone. A massive hole had been smashed through the wall behind it. Question mark exclamation mark quote. Realization struck. Mahito spun and rushed into the corridor, scanning in every direction until he finally spotted Junpei Yoshino. But before that, he saw Yuji Itadori. The black-haired boy sat slumped on the floor, legs weak. A pink-haired boy crouched in front of him, back to Mahito. In his arms was the unconscious Nagi Yoshino. Itadori-kun. Yuji didn't speak. He simply handed Nagi to Junpei. Then he stood and turned his head. His gaze fell on the special-grade curse standing in the hospital room doorway. The boy spoke quietly. He has me. Mahito's smile froze. His eyes widened slightly, the pink-haired boy's figure reflected in his pupils. Sukuna's vessel. Yuji pulled the brownish-black Sukuna finger from his pocket, pinched it between 2 fingers, and held it up. At the same time, a slit opened in the center of his palm. Sukuna cooperatively opened his mouth and accepted the finger. Gulp. Inside Yuji Itadori's body, within the scarlet innate domain. Stinking brat, you really know how to order people around. Sukuna sat atop his throne of bones, the corners of his mouth curling slightly. A new surge of power flowed into his soul. The 4th finger's energy churned through his body. Pitch-black cursed marks bloomed across Yuji's cheeks. Yuji slipped his hand back into his pocket and spoke softly. It's been a long time, Mahito. Have we met? Sukuna's vessel. It doesn't matter. Yuji glanced down the corridor behind him. Junpei had staggered away with his mother. Mahito. You're the one I've been wanting to see most. Yuji's voice was calm. I've been waiting for you. For a long, long time. Mahito's eyes narrowed. His mouth stretched into an exaggerated arc. Oh my, am I that charming? I had no idea. To be missed so dearly by Sukuna's vessel, I'm truly honored. Yuji didn't reply, he simply looked at Mahito. Then the corners of his mouth slowly curved upward into a smile. There was no anger in that smile. No hatred, no hostility. Only the certainty of someone who had already won. A person desperate to win doesn't smile. But someone guaranteed to win is a different story. Noticing that expression, Mahito felt a sudden chill. The feeling this pink-haired boy gave off was completely different from any prey he'd toyed with before. Mahito opened his mouth to speak, but before he could finish, Yuji's figure vanished. The boy surged forward, feet cracking the floor beneath him. He shot through the corridor like an arrow, leaving an afterimage in his wake. Mahito's pupils contracted violently, before he could even raise his hand. A fist filled his vision. Pitch-black lightning wrapped around it, aimed straight at his face. Black flash, bang, Mahito's head snapped backward, his entire face caved in and deformed under the impact, features crushing together. His body rocketed backward like a cannonball, smashing through the window at the end of the corridor and flying clean out of the hospital building. Mahito. Yuji lowered his fist. Tonight, I'm going to make you remember my name. Chapter 18. The battle begins. PFF'd. Cough, 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 cough. Mahito crashed down from the hospital building and landed hard on the pavement below. He lay face down, spitting out a mouthful of blood mixed with teeth. What's going on? That feeling just now. Mahito's innate technique, idle transfiguration, allowed him to freely reshape the souls of others, or himself. The shape of the physical body was guided by the shape of the soul. As long as Mahito used his technique to maintain his soul's form, he could negate any physical damage to his body. Kento Nanami possessed the strength of a standard grade 1 sorcerer, a man capable of exercising special grade curses solo. The reason Nanami had been heavily injured was precisely because of Mahito's ability to ignore physical attacks. But, cough cough, cough cough cough, Mahito staggered to his feet and wiped the blood from his lips. So strange. Normally, that strike shouldn't have done anything. But Sukuna's vessel just now struck my soul directly through my physical body. This guy, I see, he's been suppressing his cursed energy all along, lying in wait for me to take the bait. But Junpei Yoshino clearly didn't leak my information to him. How did he know? This guy houses Sukuna's soul within him, so he can naturally perceive the contours of a soul through Sukuna. Therefore, this talented boy found a way to strike the contours of my soul, dealing direct damage. Interesting. A smile spread across Mahito's lips. He licked the blood trickling from his nose. Sukuna's vessel was far more troublesome than anticipated. But it didn't matter. This was urban Kanagawa Prefecture, shops and residential buildings packed densely on both sides of the street. He just needed to grab some civilians and use them as shields. The boy would naturally yield. Hee. Mahito grinned, revealing a sinister smile. As long as he killed those ordinary people one by one in front of Yuji Itadori, the boy would spiral into anxiety and rage. Once angry, he'd make mistakes. Once he made mistakes, he'd be defeated. After defeat, the furious boy would have no choice but to sign a binding vow with Sukuna to exchange bodies. Simply perfect. Mahito suddenly frowned. An invisible pressure descended from above. He looked up and found a pitch-black barrier slowly forming overhead, like a giant spider web enveloping the entire street. A curtain. Mahito was stunned. At that moment, a figure dropped from the sky, feet smashing heavily onto the ground. Boom. The instant the pink-haired boy landed, the impact shattered the asphalt beneath him. Cracks spread outward like a spider web. Yuji looked up. When I left earlier, I notified the auxiliary team to lock down this area immediately. By now, all civilians have been evacuated. Mahito, it's just the two of us here now. You have nowhere to run. The pink-haired boy's voice was cold. Because of the curtain, the surroundings had turned black. Only neon lights illuminated the two of them. Mahito's smile froze. He'd tried to steal a chicken and lost the rice instead. He'd planned to use hostages to threaten Yuji, but instead, he'd been outmaneuvered. Not only were all potential hostages evacuated, but the entire area was sealed with a curtain, trapping him inside. Mahito lowered his head, shoulders trembling slightly. Ha 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 ha. He suddenly looked up at the night sky and burst into laughter. The piercing sound echoed through the empty street, utterly unhinged. Interesting. So interesting. Yuji Itadori, you're the first human I've met who's this entertaining. He spread his arms wide, as if embracing the entire street. Don't go looking down on me. You think you can trap me with just this? It doesn't matter. He grinned, revealing 2 rows of pristine teeth. His smile dripped with killing intent. As long as I beat you into the ground and drag your broken body in front of those residents, the effect will be the same. But there was one prerequisite. Mahito's strength had to exceed Yuji Itadori's. Yuji stared at him expressionlessly. Then why don't you try? Try, it won't be as simple as trying, Yuji Itadori. I will completely destroy your dignity here and toy with you like a maggot. As his words fell, both assumed their fighting stances. Yuji clenched his fists. Veins bulged along his arms. Flowing red scale plus the 120% potential zone state from Black Flash. After consuming the 4th Sukuna finger, Yuji's strength had leapt forward with the increase in cursed energy, stepping firmly into the realm of grade 1 sorcerers. Now, he could use blood manipulation far more freely. Scarlet blood coated his arms, completely enveloping his fists and forming a thick layer of blood armor. Doing this would slightly decrease his chances of landing a Black Flash due to delayed synchronization between physical strikes and cursed energy impact. But the blood armor provided a massive boost to both offense and defense. If he could still land a Black Flash in this state, the damage to Mahito would be devastating. The only risk was that over-solidifying his blood could cause sudden thrombosis. But with 68 years of combat experience and precision in cursed energy manipulation, Yuji could ignore such risks. The most terrifying thing about Mahito wasn't idle transfiguration itself, it was his latent talent. Mahito could grow instantaneously during battle. In his past life, Yuji had stumbled against him countless times because of this. He wouldn't underestimate his opponent out of arrogance. Two figures faced off beneath the streetlights. A Jujutsu sorcerer and a special grade cursed spirit. The night breeze swept across the empty street, scattering a few stray newspapers. A showdown spanning 68 years began here. Whoosh! Both charged simultaneously. Mahito rushed at Yuji, his arm transforming into a white mace, aiming a brutal blow at his face. Bang! The curse's strike landed on Yuji's vertically raised blocking arm. Crack! Cracked spider webbed across the blood armor, but Yuji seized the opening. He raised his fist and swung forward with everything he had. Boom! The punch landed on Mahito's crossed defensive arms. Mahito was launched backward violently, feet carving deep grooves into the ground. The sound of breaking bones reached Yuji's ears. Yuji gave him no chance to breathe. He leapt forward, raised his right leg, and aimed a kick at Mahito's neck. Pitch-black lightning emerged. Black flash, a kick wreathed in dark lightning. But just before impact, Mahito rapidly changed his arm's shape, curling it into a tentacle that wrapped around Yuji's calf. Quote question mark exclamation mark quote. Yuji's eyes widened slightly. Mahito yanked the boy's leg outward, trying to disrupt his balance. TCH. Yuji snorted coldly. His right foot exerted force abruptly. Relying on cursed energy enhancement, he wrenched the tentacle back down and pinned it to the ground with his foot. The asphalt shattered like glass from the impact. Hee, you took the bait. But this was Mahito's trap. The curse revealed a sinister smile. The moment Yuji pinned his tentacle arm to the ground, several sharp spikes shot upward, piercing straight through Yuji's instep. Squelch. Blood splattered, but the severe pain didn't change Yuji's expression in the slightest. Instead, the boy stomped his foot down harder, driving the wound even deeper through his soul, and locking Mahito's movements completely. Quote question mark exclamation mark quote. Mahito was stunned by the insane action. A normal person would dodge, right? This madman, now you can't run. Yuji's cold voice reached his ears. The boy raised his blood-armored fist. Cyan cursed energy sparks turned pitch-black in an instant. This next punch might hurt a little. Black flash. Boom. BLERGH. Pitch-black lightning exploded, accompanied by the wet sound of tearing flesh. Mahito's face caved in like dough struck by a sledgehammer. A mouthful of filthy blood mixed with broken teeth sprayed out. The immense force sent him rocketing backward through the air like an arrow. Crash. He snapped a streetlight in half. His broken body continued unabated, smashing through the closed metal shutter of a shop. Boom. Dust mixed with sparks from metal friction billowed outward, engulfing the entire area. Mahito lay in the wreckage, body twitching. The flesh on his face was torn beyond recognition, stark white skull and brain faintly visible on his forehead. Dizziness flooded his mind. Stars danced in his vision. His head swam. 3 moves. From start to finish, Yuji Itadori had used only 3 moves. And those 3 moves were enough to leave Mahito critically wounded. This guy, what's going on? This power. But as a curse, Mahito could use cursed energy to repair his wounds. His torn face slowly knit itself back together. The dust gradually settled. The on-screening curse staggered to its feet. No. No, no, no. I can't possibly lose to a brat like this. The battle. It's not over yet. Yuji Itadori. The cursed spirit's roar echoed through the street. Quote. Is that so? Yuji stood with his hands in his pockets. Chapter 19. The Domain and the King of Curses. It's not over yet. The dust filling the air slowly dissipated. Mahito braced himself on one arm and barely managed to stand, the wounds on his face gradually healing. As a special grade curse born from humanity's hatred toward humanity, Mahito possessed the greatest growth potential among the 4 disaster curses. That was why Jago, whose strength was at least equivalent to 8 or 9 of Sukuna's fingers, still considered him their leader. As a curse, Mahito had one trump card left unplayed. His ultimate secret technique. Yuji Itadori, do you know the biggest difference between humans and curses? Mahito grinned, a hideous smile spreading across his face. It's the instinct to survive. He suddenly spread his arms. They began to twist and deform. But this time, Mahito didn't turn them into weapons. His arms gradually transformed into a pair of wings. Humans will die for dignity, honor, and other meaningless illusions, praising such ridiculous behavior as courage. But curses are different. We live just to live. Mahito kicked off the ground. The massive wings sprouting from his shoulder blades began to flap, lifting him into the air. That's right, Mahito's ultimate secret technique was running away. I'll be taking my leave. Quote? Yuji looked up, watching the white figure soar higher and farther away. The corner of his mouth twitched. This guy, has he no shame? Just moments ago he'd been boasting about beating you to the ground, and completely destroying your dignity, but after failing to withstand even 3 moves, he turns tail and runs. Yuji had always known Mahito had no bottom line, but this still caught him off guard for a moment. Blood manipulation. Convergence. The experienced Yuji quickly countered. Scarlet blood gathered in his hands, forming a crimson orb. Clap. He pressed his palms together, compressing the blood between them. Piercing blood. A sharp sonic boom split the air. The crimson blood transformed into an arrow and tore through the sky, its speed nearly impossible to track with the naked eye, shooting straight toward Mahito. Squelch. The blood arrow successfully pierced Mahito's wing. Yuji twisted his arm, attempting to adjust the trajectory and sever Mahito's head. But how could the curse let him have his way? Mahito contorted his body midair and dove sharply, throwing off piercing blood's angle. The attack only managed to slice off half his wing. TCH. Mahito grunted. Maintaining flight wasn't easy. He quickly used cursed energy to patch the damaged wing, then continued flying toward the barrier's edge. Piercing blood. Compress blood using convergence, then release it from a single point. Its initial velocity was extremely fast. Yuji's version could nearly reach the speed of sound. But its advantage was limited to that initial burst. Once it missed the first strike, its speed dropped significantly, making trajectory adjustments difficult. Yuji frowned. He broke into a sprint, chasing Mahito's flight path. He grabbed a broken streetlight pole from the battlefield wreckage, infused it with cursed energy, and hurled it skyward. Whoosh! The pole tore through the air. But Mahito was too far away. The curse simply dodged sideways, and the pole brushed past his clothes before vanishing into the night. Hee, your aim is off. Mahito chuckled, wings flapping as he flew toward the curtain's edge. His goal was the barrier trapping them, not far away now. The person who'd set up this curtain was probably just a weak auxiliary manager. Breaking through something like that would be child's play. Once outside, he could play Hidendrun with Yuji Itadori. Streets, residential buildings, underground passages, hiding spots everywhere. When the time came, he'd just grab a few civilians as hostages. Yuji Itadori would have no choice but to submit. Hehehehe. Mahito couldn't help but laugh. He'd already figured out the formula for victory. Yuji Itadori, you're too green to fight me. Mahito arrived at the pitch-black barrier's edge. Just as he was about to break through the curtain, he turned back to mock Yuji one last time. But there was no sign of tension or panic on Yuji Itadori's face. He simply looked at Mahito. Expressionless. Is that so? The pink-haired boy raised his arm toward Mahito, palm facing outward. Did you think you could escape? Mahito froze. This guy has another trick. Piercing blood had been used. The streetlight was thrown. He was about to break the curtain. What else could Yuji Itadori possibly do to stop him? HMPH. A bluff. Just as Mahito convinced himself Yuji was out of options, just as victory seemed certain. Yuji clenched his fist and made a grabbing motion toward Mahito. This was a new ability Yuji had developed over 68 years. One that even his eldest brother Choso had never comprehended. Cursed Technique Reversal. A skill a sorcerer could only use after unlocking the reverse curse technique. Unlike the standard output of positive energy, Cursed Technique Reversal produced an effect completely opposite to the innate technique's normal function. What Yuji was about to use came from the Cursed Technique Reversal of blood manipulation. Because its limitations were significant, Yuji didn't use this move often. For the nearly omnipotent blood manipulation, this ability wasn't particularly powerful, only marginally better than nothing. But in this moment, it proved perfect for a surprise attack. Reverse blood. PFF'd. The instant the words left his mouth, Mahito suddenly vomited blood. His eyes went wide with shock. Every blood vessel in his body bulged, as if something was churning inside him. Blood seeped from his eyes, nose, and ears. Question mark quote. Blood manipulations forward rotation manipulated blood. Its curse technique reversal derived the ability, reverse blood, which could use a certain, medium, to cause another person's blood to flow backward, resulting in burst damage and a brief incapacitating effect. The medium Yuji had used was precisely what he'd shot into Mahito's body with piercing blood earlier. His own blood. Blergh. Mahito's eyes rolled back. While vomiting blood, he lost the strength to flap his wings. His body began to plummet, finally crashing hard onto the ground. Boom. The effect of reverse blood could be sustained. But because Mahito was a cursed spirit, his body structure differed from a human's. Given enough time, he could expel Yuji's blood completely and break free from the control. However, Yuji's goal was never to win with this move alone. He only needed to immobilize Mahito for a split second. Damn it, Bleg, Mahito cursed, punching his own chest. He retched and successfully expelled Yuji's blood using cursed energy. He scrambled to his feet, ready to take flight again, but Yuji, sprinting at full speed, arrived directly in front of him in the blink of an eye. Crap, no time to transform. The smile on Mahito's face had long vanished, replaced by a wave of pure terror. No, the smile hadn't vanished. It had simply transferred to another person's face. Black flash, pitch black lightning exploded, bang. The curse's face twisted and deformed, exposing scarlet flesh. His neck stretched outward like a noodle. But it wasn't over. Yuji grabbed his shoulder, yanked him back, and drove his knee upward. Bang, another knee strike to the face. Mahito's body fell backward, limp. No chance to create a body double. Bang, bang 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 bang. The special grade curse swayed like a leaf in a storm. Under Yuji's deliberately paced assault, his unbalanced body lurched left and right with every punch. Black lightning flickered intermittently, its dark glow reflecting in his sclera. Bang, Mahito's body was ravaged beyond recognition. Blood sprayed into the air like a fountain. The curse's eyes rolled back, but Yuji's attacks continued, fists landing heavily on Mahito's torso again and again. No no no, I'm going to die, I'm going to lose. No. No, if this continues, I really will be beaten into a pulp. I have to do something, if this keeps up, I'll actually die. The special grade curse Mahito, who had looked down on humans from birth and toyed with them for entertainment, experienced the feeling of approaching death for the first time. He was afraid, terrified, lost. Facing this once-in-a-millennium genius of the Jujutsu world, even he had been defeated. However, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. It hurts so much, it's unbearable. I hate this. I hate you. I despise you, Yuji Itadori. On the verge of death, Mahito, who possessed talent rivaling Yuji's own, burst forth with a spark of inspiration, born from desperation. Is this feeling death? For some reason, as true death approached, the fear in Mahito's heart suddenly dissipated, replaced by unprecedented focus. Bang! As Yuji's strike sent him reeling backward, Mahito looked up at the night sky vacantly. Then he opened his mouth. Domain expansion. 2 miniature arms grew inside his mouth using idle transfiguration, each forming a hand sign. Simultaneously, several pitch-black giant hands, as tall as a person, erupted from the ground behind Mahito. They multiplied rapidly at a visible rate. Yuji snorted coldly, dodged their attacks, and retreated swiftly. A pitch-black domain formed overhead, enveloping them like a curtain. Self-embodiment of perfection. The hands bloomed like flowers, growing, dividing, intertwining, spreading throughout the entire barrier like a spider web. Mahito's domain was complete. Dark purple light illuminated his face. The chaotic hands seemed to form some kind of order, clasping each other, floating in the barrier, supporting the empty space beneath their feet. Yuji Itadori. The wounds on Mahito's body gradually healed. A faint smile returned to the curse's face. Right now, I only want to thank you. Yuji was momentarily stunned. Although Mahito had displayed this kind of talent in his past life, he hadn't expected such rapid growth this time. However, Mahito didn't realize. Touching Yuji Itadori's soul meant simultaneously touching the soul of a terrifying existence dwelling within him. Gulp. In that instant, Mahito suddenly lost focus. When he came back to his senses, beneath his feet was a pool of scarlet water. Before him stood a small hill constructed of cattle and sheep skulls. A man who looked exactly like Yuji Itadori, but with an expression of absolute arrogance, sat cross-legged atop the hill, looking down at him. "You've got some nerve, cursed spirit." Sukuna rested his chin on one hand, gazing down at the curse below with cold indifference. His voice echoed through the empty innate domain. "Daring to touch my soul." At this moment, Yuji knew. The battle was over. Chapter 20. The Arrogant King of Curses and the Escape. "What are you looking at?" Sukuna said flatly. "Who gave you the right to touch my soul?" He casually raised two fingers. "Cleave. Question mark quote. Mahito stood frozen. Blood erupted like a fountain. A slash from top to bottom split open his shoulder, the massive wound extending all the way to his abdomen. His left arm fell away. Sukuna. Mahito instinctively clutched at his drooping arm. He hadn't even had time to react. "Throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one." Sukuna sat atop the skulls, chin resting on the back of his hand. Even after casually crippling a powerful special-grade curse, his expression remained unchanged. "I choose my way of life based solely on my mood. No matter what creature dies before me, it doesn't matter. Except for Yuji Itadori, the only brat in 1,000 years who has piqued my interest." Crack. Because its caster was critically wounded, the domain could no longer hold. Cracks spread across the surface of self-embodiment of perfection, layer by layer, until it finally shattered. Thud. Mahito collapsed to his knees. Blood pooled around his feet, already forming a small lake. Yuji had anticipated this outcome, so he wasn't surprised. A slit opened on his face, and Sukuna reappeared. "Get this straight, brat. I'm not helping you. I'm just disgusted by this cursed spirit trying to show off its meager skills. Besides, after your attacks just now, he was already at his limit. Even with domain expansion, his cursed energy would have dried up in a minute or two at most. You just needed to use simple domain to hold out, and he would have lost regardless. So I didn't act for your sake." Sukuna's attitude remained arrogant as ever. All right, I know, you don't need to remind me." Yuji shook his head helplessly. "Hey, brat, lend me your body again," Sukuna said suddenly. What do you want to do? Just lend it to me. It's not like I'm going to do anything to you." Fine. Yuji closed his eyes, voluntarily dispersing his consciousness. When he opened them again, pitch-black cursed marks had reappeared. Sukuna was in control. Sukuna put his hands in his pockets and walked slowly toward Mahito. Mahito tried to struggle, but his legs wouldn't respond. Blood gushed from his severed shoulder, dyeing half his body dark red. He looked up and met Ryomen Sukuna's gaze. Those crimson eyes stared down at him from above. "Your head," Sukuna spoke, even though the voice was identical to Yuji's, just slightly hoarser, slightly deeper. Coming from his mouth, it carried far more weight than the gentle Yuji Itadori's. Every word pressed down with crushing force. "Is held too high." Thud. Mahito collapsed forward, forehead hitting the ground. He didn't even have the strength to struggle. Massive blood loss blurred his consciousness. He was a cursed spirit. As long as he had cursed energy, he could heal. But Sukuna's slash had cut not only his physical body but also his soul. After the domain expansion, Mahito's cursed energy was completely exhausted. Without immediate treatment, he would die here. "Have you heard this saying?" Sukuna's voice rang out again. Still cold, still looking down from on high. "The fuller the ear of rice, the lower it bows its head." He raised his foot and stepped on Mahito's head. He didn't use much force, but it was enough to press Mahito's face directly into the ground. "It seems you lack that self-awareness." Sukuna's tone dripped with contempt. "You don't understand the order between the strong and the weak. People like me and Yuji Itadori are the strong. I can do whatever I want and live however I please. Yuji Itadori can save others according to his likes and dislikes. But you are the weak." As he spoke, he increased the pressure slightly. Mahito's skull emitted a muffled groan. His face sank deeper into the ground. "Being looked down upon by someone like you is really annoying." Mahito lay motionless, fingers weakly clawing at the cracks in the pavement. His nails broke, blood flowed. He wanted to speak, wanted to retort. "I am a special grade curse, I will kill you, remember this, I will have my revenge." But he couldn't utter a single word. Before this man, he was nothing. "Sukuna, isn't it about time you gave the body back?" Yuji's sweat dropped slightly. After all that, Sukuna borrowed his body just to mock Mahito. "Is Sukuna a child? HMPH. Brat, you handle the rest." After speaking, Sukuna voluntarily returned control. The marks on the pink-haired boy's face faded. Now, it's time to end this, Mahito. Yuji raised his fist. Cyan cursed energy gathered in his hand. He looked down expressionlessly at the dying cursed spirit beneath his feet, leaned forward, and swung. Quote. Whoosh. Something tore through the air. Yuji's pupils contracted. Something was coming. Several thick tree roots shot out from the darkness, whipping toward him like living snakes. Bang! He raised his arms to block, but the force was astonishing, like being struck by a sledgehammer. His feet skidded across the ground with a harsh screech. He was pushed back several steps. In the gap created by that knockback, a white figure appeared in front of Mahito. Mahito, I'm here to save you. A completely pale cursed spirit covered in pitch-black patterns. 2 branches where its eyes should be. Hanami, one of the 4 disaster curses. A special grade cursed spirit born from humanity's fear of forests. It bent down, scooped Mahito off the ground, tucked him under one arm, turned, and ran. Hanami had no intention of fighting someone as dangerous as Sukuna's vessel. The curse's speed was staggering as it frantically wove through the street. Tree roots and vines spread out behind it like a tidal wave, forming an impenetrable wall to block Yuji's pursuit. Trying to run, Yuji narrowed his eyes. He'd already guessed others might be lying in ambush. Kenjaku wouldn't let Mahito come here alone to die. Hanami's appearance was only a matter of time. But he wouldn't let them escape so easily. Yuji raised his arms, fingertips pointed in Hanami's direction. Scarlet blood gushed from his palms, condensing and compressing into a slender arrow. Piercing blood, the blood arrow tore through the air, aimed straight at Hanami's back. But before it could reach, boom, a massive figure descended from the sky, crashing directly into the arrow's path. When the dust settled, a completely crimson, 2-horned, hideous curse appeared, as burly as a small mountain. It held a giant wine jug in one hand, steam rising from the mouth, exuding a powerful scent of alcohol. The registered special grade curse, Shudendoji. Not far from where Yuji and Mahito had fought, atop a nearby building. Kenjaku stood with arms crossed, a smile on his face as he gazed down at the battlefield. Oh my, he murmured to himself. I told him earlier he couldn't beat you. Unfortunately, he didn't believe me. Sorry, my child. Mahito is an important piece for me. I won't let you kill him so easily. Although Sukuna's vessel's growth rate had far exceeded his expectations, even threatening to disrupt his plans. But this is fine too. After this battle, Mahito has grown considerably as well. It's not without gains. I'm looking forward to you, Yuji Itadori. Yuji lowered his arms. His gaze crossed over Shudendoji's shoulder, falling on the direction Hanami had fled. The dying Mahito was tucked under Hanami's arm. Eyes rolled back, severed shoulder dragging uselessly against the ground. Yuji took a deep breath. He knew Mahito was still conscious. Mahito, he shouted, remember this well, I have plenty of cursed energy to spare. Taking care of this special grade and then chasing you down would be child's play. The victor has been decided. You're nothing but a pathetic worm curled up in your companion's arms, only able to watch me and tremble. Listen carefully, don't think you're safe just because you escaped today. I will hunt you to the ends of the earth. No matter how your companions protect you, no matter how many curses act as your shield, I will tear them apart one by one and stand before you. From now on, I will become the shadow looming over your head. I will make you live every day in fear of me, even if you manage to drag out your miserable existence. The next time we meet, I won't let you die so easily. When that time comes, I won't give you any chance to escape. I will use my own hands to crush your soul bit by bit. I'll show you what true despair looks like. Yuji lowered his arms. His voice returned to calm. So get lost. Savor this taste of defeat. Enjoy your final moments like a reptile crawling through a stinking gutter. After all, you don't have much time left. Sukuna sat atop the cattle and sheep skulls, expression somewhat surprised. He hadn't expected this naive, childish brat to say such harsh words. But soon, a smile of genuine interest spread across his face. Perhaps he hadn't fully understood the current Yuji Itadori. That curse must be terrified out of its mind right now. Making him spend the rest of his life in fear. Interesting. If it were Sukuna, he might have said the same thing. Good, brat, well said, that's the spirit a strong person should have. Sukuna's level of acknowledgement for Yuji Itadori quietly rose a bit higher. Chapter 21, The Recommendation and the New Student. Mahito, are you okay? Hanami's body phased through the barrier, completely vanishing from Yuji Itadori's field of vision. Looking at the dying companion tucked under its arm, it asked with concern. Hana, am I? The dying Mahito's head drooped lifelessly toward the ground. His skin was deathly pale, and half his body was soaked in blood. I am too weak. As long as I beat you to the ground and drag your broken body in front of those residents, the effect will be the same. Try, it won't be as simple as trying, Yuji Itadori. I will completely destroy your dignity here and toy with you like a maggot. Recalling those words he'd said to sound tough, Mahito felt nothing but crushing humiliation. He was too weak. As a curse born from humanity's hatred toward humanity, Mahito had always believed his talent was unparalleled, that he could toy with everyone from his lofty perch. But Sukuna's vessel, without even using Sukuna, had ruthlessly trampled his dignity underfoot and ground it into the dirt. Mahito sniffled. He really wanted to cry. He really wanted to die. Really wanted to die, really wanted to die, really wanted to die. He had been utterly and completely defeated. I always thought I could look down on everyone from above. But I was wrong. I'm just a frog in a well. Mahito sank completely into self-isolation. Just as Yuji Itadori had intended, even though Mahito managed to escape with his life. Yuji Itadori's name was carved permanently into his brain. His nightmare. On the other side of the battlefield. Yuji had sensed Kenjaku lying in ambush nearby all along. After deploying the special grade curse Shuden Doji, Kenjaku's presence had vanished as well. The pink-haired boy looked at the special grade blocking his path and frowned slightly. Although he hadn't consumed much cursed energy fighting Mahito, at most 50%, this curse had clearly been strengthened by Kenjaku personally. Exercising it wouldn't be easy. Itadori-kun, a familiar voice came from behind. Yuji turned in surprise and saw a figure in a white suit hurrying over from the end of the street. Blonde hair, glasses, prominent cheekbones. Nanami-san, you came. Kento Nanami stopped beside him, loosened the tie from his chest, wrapped it around his hand, and drew the short sword from his back. I figured you'd do something reckless. You, Nanami paused, swallowing the scolding, brat. You left Aijichi in Kanagawa Prefecture to set up a curtain. The moment I got word, I rushed over. Where is the curse named Mahito? He was rescued. There's more than one intelligent special grade curse. We'll discuss you disobeying orders later. Yuji froze, instinctively wanting to explain. Nanami-san, let's solve the problem in front of us first. Yuji smiled helplessly. Alright, with two grade 1 sorcerers working together, dealing with a special grade curse wasn't particularly difficult. After killing Shuden Doji, the matter was concluded. Under Yuji's protection, there were no casualties among the surrounding residents. Only Junpei Yoshino's mother remained unconscious, but she would wake up soon after resting at the hospital. Witnessing Yuji's astonishing solo performance, even Kento Nanami had to acknowledge him. If it were me, I couldn't have done any better. Itadori-kun, you are strong. I'm heading back to Jujutsu High next. What are you planning to do? Yuji considered for a moment. I'll probably wait until afternoon to head back. Personal matters. Then we'll meet again later. The midday sun shone down on the street. Kento Nanami climbed into Aijichi's car. Through the rear window, he looked at Yuji standing by the roadside with a meaningful gaze. Itadori-kun, regarding your promotion to grade 1 sorcerer, I will recommend you alongside Gojo-san. Thank you. Those words meant Kento Nanami acknowledged his talent as a jujutsu sorcerer. Yuji smiled and watched the car pull away. Next, he turned and walked toward the hospital behind him. Yuji pushed open the hospital room door. Afternoon sunlight filtered through the blinds, casting golden stripes across the floor. Junpei Yoshino sat by his mother's bed, keeping watch. Hearing the noise, he turned. Itadori-kun, yeah, how's your mom? The doctor said she should wake up this afternoon. Junpei's voice was hoarse. Nothing serious. That's good. Yuji walked over, his gaze falling on the bruises and scrapes covering Junpei's arms, all from Mahito earlier. You're pretty banged up yourself. Go let a nurse treat those, or I can help. No need. Junpei shook his head, cutting him off. Minor injuries don't matter. More importantly, the situation with Mahito, is it resolved? Yuji nodded. It's resolved. He didn't elaborate, but Junpei understood. Itadori-kun is really incredible. Junpei murmured. Someone as strong and kind as you will definitely save even more people from now on. Yuji was momentarily surprised. Then he smiled. Yeah, I will. He didn't deflect or downplay it, because that was exactly why he'd come back. To save more people. Junpei lowered his head, hands on his knees, gripping the hem of his uniform tightly. But I'm so weak. His teeth clenched. I'm so weak, I couldn't even save my own mother. Junpei, it's not your fault. Junpei didn't reply. The hospital room fell silent, leaving only the steady beep, beep of the heart monitor echoing in the stillness. Then Junpei looked up, a hint of determination flickered in his eyes. This wasn't impulse, it was a decision he'd reached after hours of thinking and struggling. He stood, turned to face Yuji, leaned forward, and bowed deeply. Itadori-kun, please let me join Jujutsu High. You. The smile on Yuji's face faded, replaced by seriousness. Junpei, being a jujutsu sorcerer isn't a glamorous profession. Those without ability don't survive many years before they're eliminated. I know, you don't know. Yuji shook his head. For jujutsu sorcerers, there's no such thing as a death without regrets. You haven't watched the people around you die, but I have. Some people are talking to you one moment, and the next they're a cold corpse. Some don't even leave a body behind. They're devoured by curses and completely disappear from this world. I don't want you to end up like that. Itadori-kun. Junpei looked up, eyes burning with even greater resolve. I've made up my mind. Just now, I tried something on my own, and I found I could summon a small jellyfish-like creature. That should be my curse technique, right? If I were just an ordinary person, I wouldn't make such a rash decision. But I have the talent to be a jujutsu sorcerer. I don't want to watch my mother fall unconscious again. I don't want to watch you fight alone while I can't do anything, like yesterday. Junpei clenched his fists. The final words came out almost like a growl. I want to become stronger. I want to become as strong as you, Itadori-kun. If I don't get stronger, I won't even be able to protect my mother, let alone myself. So please, let me join Jujutsu High. Yuji remained silent for a moment, seemingly moved by the boy's determination. A small smile tugged at his lips. All right, I really can't argue with you. Really. Joy flooded Junpei's face. That's great, thank you. Beep beep beep, beep beep beep. Sorry, Junpei, let me take this call. Yuji pulled out his phone. The caller ID read, Satoru Gojo. Hello, Gojo-sensei. Yuji, I heard from Nanami about your mission today. The voice on the other end was noticeably excited. I'll save the praise for when I get back. I'm on a business trip right now. I called to tell you, this afternoon, we're picking up a new student. A new student? Yuji was surprised. That's right, the third first year, coming from the countryside. Nobara Kugasaki. So it's Kugasaki. Yuji's face lit up. Although he'd stayed in touch with Kugasaki in his past life, the thought of seeing his old friend's youthful face again made him genuinely happy. Actually, that Kugasaki would be the fourth. Yuji chuckled. Gojo-sensei, I'd like to recommend a student to you. Chapter 22, Inspoken Rapport and the Arrival of Nobara. Junpei, when are you planning to leave? Probably tonight or tomorrow morning. I need to say a proper goodbye to my mom first. After all, Tokyo is a decent trip from Yokohama. Then if there's nothing else, I'll head back now. When you're ready, I'll have an auxiliary manager come pick you up. Yuji waved to Junpei, then turned to leave the hospital room. Okay, Itadori-senpai. Don't call me senpai, it's embarrassing. Also, Junpei. Get those injuries treated. Junpei looked down at the bruises on his arms, realizing Yuji was worried about him. After everything that had happened with Mahito, Junpei felt genuine admiration and respect for Yuji. He scratched the back of his head, somewhat embarrassed. Thank you, I will. Other auxiliary managers were waiting nearby. Yuji climbed into the back seat of a black luxury sedan. Tokyo was close to Yokohama, so he returned to Jujutsu High in about an hour. It was currently 3 p.m. Because of the fight with Mahito, Yuji had missed lunch. Being a jujutsu sorcerer was demanding work. After filling up at the cafeteria, he quickly received a call from Satoru Gojo. Yuji, I'm at the school gate. Megumi's here too. We're waiting for you. Gojo's voice came through the phone. I'll be right there. Yuji walked briskly to the school gate. From a distance, he spotted a black sedan parked by the road. Satoru Gojo, wearing his signature black blindfold, leaned against the car door, chatting with Megumi Fushiguro beside him. Noticing Yuji's arrival, Gojo waved at him. Yuji, over here, over here. Yuji jogged over. At the same time, Satoru Gojo extended a hand toward him, palm facing out. Yuji immediately understood and slapped his hand against it. Smack. The two shared a cheerful high five. Nanami told me everything about this mission. You did great, Yuji. Satoru Gojo smiled, looking at Yuji with genuine satisfaction. Don't be fooled by the restrained expression on his face. Inside, he was overjoyed. Taking down another special grade curse. Let's see who dares say my teaching skills are poor now. It's clearly Megumi Fushiguro who's too weak. My teaching level is absolutely fine. As the saying goes, a great teacher produces brilliant students. With an awesome teacher like him, naturally he'd produce an awesome student like Yuji. Although Satoru Gojo hadn't actually taught Yuji anything special from start to finish, but a shameless person is invincible. Gojo naturally attributed this success to his own instruction. Soloing a special grade on your second day of enrollment. Defeating 2 special grades by your 4th day. Keep this up and you'll wipe out every special grade curse in the world. Other sorcerers will have no room for advancement because of you. Shouldn't you show some mercy to a certain genius who got beaten by a grade 2 curse? Satoru Gojo teased with a grin. Yuji scratched the back of his head, a bit embarrassed. It's not that impressive. Nanami-san helped too. It would have been tough alone. Hearing their conversation, Megumi Fushiguro's face darkened. Gojo-sensei, could you not drag me into this every single time? Haha, after all, you two are my cutest students. Now get in the car. Oh, okay. Yuji nodded. Megumi didn't want to sit with Satoru Gojo, he'd just get annoyed, so he took the passenger seat. The driver was an auxiliary manager. Yuji and Satoru Gojo sat in the back. The car slowly pulled out of the Jujutsu high gates. Yuji leaned against the window, watching the scenery pass by. Meanwhile, Satoru Gojo glanced at him from the corner of his eye. He wore a blindfold, so Yuji didn't notice the gaze. Something feels off. It wasn't the kind of off that raised alarms. When interacting with Yuji Itadori, Satoru Gojo always sensed an indescribable incongruity. There seemed to be a natural, unspoken rapport between them. Like the tacit high five just now. Or when he teased Megumi, Yuji's rhythm and tone in responding perfectly matched his own frequency. Like an old friend he'd known for years. In the 4 days since Yuji enrolled, Satoru Gojo had been away on business trips most of the time. They'd spent only a few hours together total. Someone like Yuji, forming such seamless understanding in so short a time, was something he'd never seen before. It didn't feel like learning or adapting. It felt more like a reunion after a long separation. Could we have met somewhere before? Satoru Gojo was amused by his own thought. A reunion after a long separation. Him and a 16-year-old high school student. Impossible. Gojo-sensei. Yuji's voice suddenly rang out, interrupting his thoughts. Satoru Gojo snapped back to reality. Yuji had turned to look at him, a hint of confusion in those amber eyes. Have you been staring at me? No. Satoru Gojo lied without missing a beat. I was looking at the scenery outside the window. Your face is turned toward me. The scenery on this side is better. All right. Yuji turned back to the window. Watching the back of his head, the corners of Satoru Gojo's mouth curved upward unconsciously. He really liked this student. Not because of his talent. Not because of his strength. But because of his genuine, unadulterated kindness and energy. Suguru, although this kid's personality is different from yours, the feeling he gives me is just like you. Their destination was Tokyo Station. Outside the Shinkansen arrival gate, people bustled in every direction. Noisy chatter and broadcast announcements intertwined, the background music unique to the city. It's about time. She should be arriving soon. Yuji, Megumi, remember to greet her properly. After all, she's a new classmate. First impressions matter. Satoru Gojo led the way, with Yuji and Megumi following behind. Got it, Gojo-sensei. Yuji replied. Fushiguro nodded. The train soon arrived. A few minutes later, a figure emerged from the exit. A girl with short brown hair wearing the black Jujutsu high uniform, a belt around her waist. After scanning the area and spotting the 3 of them, Nobara Kugasaki walked straight over, gripping her suitcase. Yo, Kugasaki-san, welcome to Tokyo. Also, these two are your classmates. Say hello. Satoru Gojo waved at her. Nobara stopped in front of the two boys. The brown-haired girl placed one hand on her hip and said flatly, "My name is Nobara Kugasaki. Rejoice, boys, you've got a rose among the thorns." Yuji stepped forward, bowed slightly, and offered a polite, warm smile. "Nice to meet you. I'm Yuji Itadori. We'll be classmates from now on. I hope we can get along well. Please take care of me." Nobara Kugasaki was also an old friend of Yuji's, so seeing her made him genuinely happy. Nobara looked him up and down. Pink hair slicked back, leaving only a small lock on his forehead. Features that weren't delicate but were pleasant to look at. A clean, neat Jujutsu high uniform, like he'd specifically groomed himself. His whole presence radiated warmth and maturity. Probably the same type as Satoru Gojo. That was her first impression. A handsome guy. Please take care of me, Itadori-kun. She nodded, her tone noticeably softer than before. Then her gaze shifted to Megumi Fushiguro. The spiky-haired boy stood in place, hands in his pockets, and said flatly, "Megumi Fushiguro. Please take care of me." Question mark quote. Just a name, nothing else. The corner of Nobara's mouth twitched. What the hell, what's with this sea urchin head? His hairstyle's weird enough, but to greet a girl who traveled all this way with such a cold attitude. She complained furiously in her head. She had zero interest in guys who put on airs. This guy was definitely the type who'd set fire to a seagull soaked in oil. Watching from the side, the smile on Satoru Gojo's lips deepened. He clapped his hands, breaking the subtle tension. All right, now that everyone's acquainted, let's go. The car's waiting outside." Nobara looked at Yuji's back, then at the back of Megumi Fushiguro's head, silently scoring the 2 in her mind. If 10 was the max, she'd give Yuji Itadori an 8. A clean, polite boy would naturally be liked by girls. As for Megumi Fushiguro, 0. Chapter 23, The Strongest Teacher and the Arrival of Naoya. To assess the new student, Nobara Kugasaki, Satoru Gojo specifically set up a curtain near an unfinished building that had bred curses and brought the group there. He had Megumi Fushiguro stay behind and, under the guise of a test, sent Yuji and Nobara inside to exorcise the curses. Although there were some hiccups, Nobara Kugasaki passed the assessment successfully. People in the Jujutsu sorcerer profession were basically all crazy. After confirming Nobara's character, Satoru Gojo watched the 2 students slowly emerge from the building's entrance. "You're ridiculously strong. Isn't that a bit much? It's just using cursed energy to enhance my body. You'll be able to do it too eventually, Kugasaki-san." No. Nobara waved her hands repeatedly, looking disgusted. "That's way too rough. It doesn't fit my style as a beautiful girl at all. Isn't a beautiful girl fighting curses already pretty rough? That's different. At least I look good when I fight." Satoru Gojo looked up at the sky. The setting sun sank past the edge of the buildings, dyeing everything orangered. The evening breeze blew gently. All right, it's getting late." He clapped his hands. "Let's go eat. My treat. Really, I want sushi. The fancy kind." Nobara's eyes instantly lit up. After starving all day, she finally had a meal to look forward to. Yuji hesitated, then said, "I want to get desserts." "Huh, desserts?" Nobara immediately protested. "I'm starving. Desserts won't fill me up." I mean after we eat. Because." Yuji scratched the back of his head. "Sukuna is from a different era, so he probably hasn't had anything good. I want him to try modern food." Question mark quote. The air went quiet for a moment. Satoru Gojo looked at Yuji, a hint of surprise in his voice. "Yuji, are you trying to communicate with Sukuna?" "Sort of." Yuji nodded, though he's mostly uncooperative. "Wait, Sukuna, what are you guys talking about?" Nobara was lost. Megumi explained flatly. "Sukuna is the king of curses from 1,000 years ago. His fingers are special grade cursed objects. Itadori swallowed one, and now Sukuna's soul resides in his body." Swallowed a special grade cursed object? That's so unsanitary. Nobara looked mildly horrified. At that moment, a slit opened on Yuji's face. An eyeball and a mouth emerged, the voice hoarse and irritable. "Shut up, brat, I don't want your crappy desserts. But we agreed yesterday. Yuji looked disappointed. Who agreed with you? Sukuna's voice rose, tinged with embarrassment. Stop making things up. You literally said, if I'm in a good mood, I might force myself to try it. Shut up, PFF'd. Listening to the two bicker, Satoru Gojo finally couldn't hold back and burst out laughing. He'd assumed the King of Curses was the irritable old man type, someone who'd cut down anyone he didn't like, act decisively, and look down on everyone. Turns out he was like this. Hey, white-haired brat, what are you laughing at? Once I take over this body, you'll be the first one I kill. Sukuna's voice carried a note of displeasure. It's one thing for me to argue with Yuji, but why are you butting in? Satoru Gojo wasn't fazed. He shrugged, tone playful. Oh my, to be remembered by the King of Curses, I'm truly honored. HMPH. The mouth on Yuji's face vanished. Sukuna clearly had no interest in continuing the exchange. Gojo-sensei, I heard you're the strongest Jujutsu sorcerer. Seeing Gojo's relaxed attitude, Nobara asked, who's stronger, you or this Ryomen Sukuna? Well, if Sukuna collected all 20 fingers, it might be a bit troublesome. I see, but I'd win. Satoru Gojo smiled. It's getting late. Let's go, Megumi said. The setting sun stretched their four shadows long. Nobara was checking sushi restaurant ratings on her phone. Megumi walked with his hands in his pockets, looking aloof as always. Yuji and Satoru Gojo brought up the rear. Gojo-sensei. Nanami-san told you about those two curses, right? Satoru Gojo nodded. Yeah, intelligent curses are rare. For two to appear at once is unusual. The one with the stitched face can alter souls through touch. The other one, looks like some kind of forest spirit, seems to control plants. I'll draw their portraits for you later. Both are extremely dangerous. Please warn everyone to be careful on missions from now on. Will do. Satoru Gojo replied. Good work, Yuji. Yuji nodded but didn't continue. He was hesitating. The four disaster curses. Kenjaku. The culling game, he remembered these vaguely. If he told Satoru Gojo everything, with Gojo's strength and resources, they could definitely prepare in advance, maybe even locate Kenjaku's hideout and wipe them all out. But would that old fox really give him such an opportunity? In his past life, Yuji hadn't noticed it, but whether it was when he first swallowed Sukuna's finger in Sendai, the subsequent detention center incident, or the recent Mahito situation, Kenjaku's shadow was everywhere. In Yuji's assessment, Kenjaku had perfectly avoided Satoru Gojo every single time. That meant the bastard might be monitoring Gojo's every move around the clock. The six eyes could indeed perceive cursed energy flow with a 360-degree field of vision. But if Satoru Gojo wasn't deliberately focusing, he probably wouldn't notice Kenjaku using long-range surveillance curses from 800 meters away. And then there was Kenjaku's spy inside Jujutsu High. Mekamaru, someone with a heavenly restriction. Because his body was nearly crippled, kept alive only by nutrient fluids, he'd gained extraordinary talent as a Jujutsu sorcerer. Furthermore, he specialized in machinery and technology. Mekamaru had once used microdrones to record battles involving Satoru Gojo and others, then handed the footage to Kenjaku. Kenjaku had then passed those recordings to the US president at the White House, cooperating to send American soldiers into the culling game barriers. Yuji didn't know that Mekamaru had recorded their fights. But he knew that perhaps at this very moment, hidden in the corners of these seemingly ordinary buildings, there were microdrones devoid of cursed energy. Mekamaru's surveillance was pervasive. If even a little information leaked, if Kenjaku discovered that Satoru Gojo knew his plan, that old fox would simply take the four disaster curses and flee abroad. Run to some place no one could find and scheme anew. Then Yuji's intelligence advantage would vanish completely. Even if Kenjaku didn't run, the prison realm was still a problem. The condition for sealing someone with the prison realm was, 1 minute must pass in the target's mind. That condition was absurd. Telling Satoru Gojo that Kenjaku was occupying Suguru Geto's body might just prompt Kenjaku to find another way to seal him. Even after 68 years, Yuji couldn't afford to lower his guard against a broken-level cursed object like the prison realm. Yuji, what are you thinking about? You look pretty absorbed. While Yuji was lost in thought, Satoru Gojo's voice reached his ears. Quote. Gojo-sensei, have you ever lost someone important to you? Yuji lowered his eyes slightly. The orangered sunset fell on the grayish-white road, reflecting the lush shadows of ginkgo trees. The surroundings were quiet, with only the four of them in the overlapping tree shadows. Satoru Gojo's steps paused briefly. Then he spoke, expression relaxed. Yeah, I have. Not just important people, even ordinary friends. Even though your teacher is strong, I can't save everyone. Yuji was silent for a moment. Gojo-sensei, you must be exhausted. Satoru Gojo looked at him, tilting his head in surprise. Why do you say that? Because I can tell. From what I've heard from Fushiguro too. It just seems unfair. Yuji lowered his gaze, his pace slowing. Satoru Gojo noticed and matched him. Not far ahead, Nobara and Megumi were walking further away, the distance gradually widening. Just because you're the strongest doesn't mean all the responsibilities should fall on you. Nanami-san scolded me for disobeying orders and acting alone, but that's actually because I want to take on responsibilities. No matter how I look at it, we can't just rely on you for everything, sensei. Yuji's voice was calm. As he voiced his thoughts, he continued pondering the question from before. Satoru Gojo was quiet for a moment. A hint of surprise flickered in the cerulean blue eyes behind his blindfold. Yuji, you really are kind. A smile spread across Satoru Gojo's face. Then he returned to his usual playful tone. Someone like you is definitely going to be popular with girls. When you get a girlfriend, sensei will screen her for you. Everyone relies on you too much, sensei. I don't want to do that. Yuji shook his head, his voice slightly muffled. Isn't it normal to rely on your teacher? Satoru Gojo shrugged like it was obvious. You're all students. I'm an adult. Even if you're special jujutsu sorcerers, you're still kids. It's only natural for kids to rely on adults. I'm not a kid. Yuji frowned, but he couldn't exactly tell Satoru Gojo about his 68 years of experience. The corners of Satoru Gojo's mouth curved upward. Oh my, kids always say that. Anyway, Yuji shook his head. I've grown up, so I won't rely on you anymore, sensei. Satoru Gojo stopped walking. Noticing, Yuji stopped too and looked at him in confusion. The evening sun fell on Satoru Gojo, dyeing his white hair a different shade. He looked at Yuji and shook his head helplessly. Yuji, not relying on your teacher doesn't mean you've grown up. On the contrary, Satoru Gojo reached out and placed his hand on Yuji's head, ruffling his short pink hair. If students can't even rely on their teacher, wouldn't that make me a useless teacher? Yuji's eyes widened. You, Fushiguro, Kugasaki, the upperclassmen, you're all my precious students. So I will look after you. And you can rely on me. It's not about whether I'm tired. It's my duty as a teacher. Satoru Gojo chuckled. I don't want to be a useless teacher, Yuji. After all, because I was useless, I couldn't keep Suguru. I couldn't save Riko. I couldn't save Haibara. I couldn't protect anyone. So I can't afford to lose you students too. Hearing Satoru Gojo's words, Yuji stood frozen for a long moment. Then warmth spread through his chest. Besides his grandfather, in 68 years, he'd rarely been cared for like this. Don't worry, Satoru Gojo walked ahead on his own, then raised his arm and gave Yuji a thumbs up. Your teacher is the strongest. Just leave everything to me. What you need to do is slowly grow up under my protection. After all, being a jujutsu sorcerer is cruel. Robbing young people of their youth is unforgivable. Satoru Gojo said with a smile. I know, sensei. Yuji didn't argue anymore, he just nodded silently. Let's go. Those two have gotten pretty far ahead. Yeah, Yuji followed behind him, his steps lighter than before. He looked at Satoru Gojo's back. The tall, white-haired man cast a long shadow in the setting sun, blocking the glaring light ahead. Yuji Itadori made a silent vow. He couldn't let Gojo-sensei bear the pain of killing his best friend again. He couldn't let him carry all the burdens alone anymore. Kenjaku, I will be the one to kill him. July 4, 2018, 6:31 p.m. While Satoru Gojo took his students shopping, several black sedans drove in single file through the gates of Tokyo Jujutsu High. Naoya Zenin stepped out from the back seat of the second car. The hem of his black haori swayed gently with his movement. The blond man raised a hand to brush the hair from his forehead, his gaze sweeping over the surrounding buildings. The Tokyo school, same as always, so rustic. Naoya-sama, your luggage has been sent to the dorm, an attendant said respectfully from behind. Naoya waved dismissively, signaling the attendant to step back. He didn't follow the main group to the dorm. Instead, He walked alone along the stone path deeper into Jujutsu High. A few minutes later, he arrived at an open-air training ground. The grounds weren't large, surrounded by tall trees and a few dim streetlights. In the center, a green-haired girl with a ponytail stood before a wooden dummy, gripping a training sword, swinging it repeatedly. Sweat rolled down her cheeks. Maki Zenin. Naoya stood at the edge of the training ground, hands in his haori pockets, tilting his head to look at her. Yo, little Maki. Long time no see. Maki's movements paused. She didn't turn her head, but clearly sensed who had arrived. Ah, the eldest young master of the Zenin clan. Can I help you with something? Chapter 24. The bullied sister and the arrogant young master. That's really mean. Don't you have any respect for your elders or care for the young? Naoya Zenin wore an extremely punchable smile. Your cousin traveled all this way, and not only do you not welcome me warmly, look at you. You won't even face me. I have nothing to say to a guy who only evaluates women by their butts. Maki Zenin turned around, pointing the tip of her wooden training sword at Naoya. The exchange event doesn't start until tomorrow. You shouldn't be here. Get lost. Quote. A flicker of displeasure crossed Naoya's eyes, but he quickly concealed it. His gaze swept across Maki's face, that arrogant smile still lingering on his lips. Oh my, little Maki. Your face is so cute. He raised his hand, gesturing lazily in the air. It's a pity you have no self-awareness as a woman. A woman who doesn't walk 3 steps behind a man might as well be stabbed in the back. Compared to you, Mai is much better. Naoya shrugged. Although Mai-chan also likes to act tough, deep down she knows her place as a woman. Whoosh! Before he could finish, a wooden training sword flew straight at his face. But Naoya merely tilted his head, and the sword brushed past his hair without touching him. Don't you dare mention Mai, you piece of trash. Maki glared fiercely at Naoya, veins bulging on her forehead. Mai Zenin, Maki Zenin's twin sister. The two had grown up together and originally shared a close bond. As the older sister, Maki had always protected Mai. But the Zenin clan was a garbage dump that only valued jujutsu talent. In that garbage dump, the underperforming Maki and Mai were naturally bullied by everyone, including Naoya Zenin. When Maki was a child, Naoya had tormented her relentlessly. At his worst, he'd stepped directly on her head, grinding her face into the floor while hurling insults without restraint. The bullying the sisters suffered in the Zenin clan was no less severe than what Junpei Yoshino had experienced. Perhaps even worse. As the younger sister, Mai loved her older sister deeply. But her timid personality made her want to stay in the clan with Maki, living a humble but stable life. But Maki refused to accept that. She wanted to prove to everyone that she, Maki Zenin, was neither a failure nor the trash they called her. So she left the Zenin clan to train at Jujutsu High. Oh my, are you angry? Naoya raised his hands in mock surrender. But his attitude remained contemptuous. Want to fight, little Maki? Let me see how much you've improved during your 2 years at the Tokyo school. Hey, what are you doing? As the tension between them escalated, a deep voice came from the nearby forest. Naoya turned and saw 2 figures approaching quickly under the streetlights. Quote. Panda, a burly figure resembling a panda stepped in front of Maki, shielding her. Beside him stood a white-haired boy whose face was hidden by his collar, leaving only his eyes visible. Grade 2 Sorcerer, Panda. Grade 2 Sorcerer, Toge Inamaki. Both lowered their stances, wary of the blonde man before them. The young master of the Zenin clan. Go back, now. If you keep picking fights, we'll tell Satoru Gojo about today and let him deal with you. Salmon. Quote. At Satoru Gojo's name, a flicker of apprehension crossed Naoya's eyes. The 3 people before him were only grade 2 sorcerers. Naoya was a standout among grade 1s. Even if all 3 attacked together, they wouldn't be a match for him. But Naoya definitely didn't want Satoru Gojo coming after him. I'll take special care of you at tomorrow's exchange event, little Maki. He turned, that arrogant smile returning to his lips, and disappeared into the forest. Look forward to it. The training ground fell quiet. Panda sighed and patted Maki's shoulder. Don't let it get to you. That guy's just like that. Mustard leaf. Toge also offered comfort. Maki shook her head, eyes resolute. I won't lose at tomorrow's exchange event. The sky had completely darkened. The gate of Jujutsu High looked particularly solemn under the streetlights. Stone lanterns on both sides emitted a dim yellow glow, casting long, twisted shadows from the ancient pine trees. Yoshino-kun, I'll go park the car first. Feel free to look around, and we'll meet back here shortly. The auxiliary manager poked his head out the car window, gave some instructions, then drove through the school gate. Okay, thank you. Junpei Yoshino nodded, gripping his phone and luggage as he stood by the road, looking around. It was 9 p.m. After saying goodbye to his mother, Junpei had set off. This was his first time at Tokyo Jujutsu High. The surrounding buildings and scenery felt unfamiliar yet fascinating. Rolling mountains in the distance. Scattered school buildings nearby. The air carried an ancient, solemn weight, completely different from Yokohama's streets. He walked while looking down at his phone, opening line and tapping on his chat with Yuji Itadori. Itadori-kun, I've arrived. Where are you? The reply came quickly. I'm out eating with classmates. I'll hurry back. Feel free to look around, but don't wander off. Okay. The unknown always breeds curiosity. Junpei chatted while walking, the corners of his mouth curling upward slightly. Because the road was so empty, he didn't pay attention to what was ahead. Bang! Ah! Junpei suddenly collided with something solid. He fell backward, his phone clattering to the ground. HS's, ow, ow, ow. He rubbed his forehead, looked up, and saw a figure looming over him. Blonde hair, black haori, hands in pockets, an impatient expression. Naoya Zenin, are you a first year? Naoya looked the black-haired boy up and down as he sat sprawled on the ground. He reached a conclusion. Trash, so weak, your cursed energy is practically non-existent, and your constitution is no different from a normal person's. He shook his head, tone dripping with undisguised disgust. Someone like you is fit to be a jujutsu sorcerer. In the Zenin clan, you'd be expelled on the spot. Junpei was stunned. Who are you? What gives you the right to say that? Me. Naoya raised an eyebrow. You're not worthy of knowing my name. But I have a question. Were you raised without manners? I asked you something, and you answer with a question. You bumped into me just now. Aren't you going to apologize? Naoya looked down at Junpei with casual contempt. Get on the ground, kowtow 3 times, then leave. Quote. He hadn't expected to encounter someone this terrible right after arriving at Jujutsu High. Fear flickered across Junpei's face. But having survived the ordeal with Mahito, he had completely shed his cowardly former self. The black-haired boy gritted his teeth, pushed himself to his feet, and looked Naoya Zenin directly in the eye. I won't. This road is wide enough for a dozen people to walk side by side. Bumping into someone is almost impossible. I was looking at my phone and didn't notice, but you deliberately didn't move out of the way. That's why we collided. Moreover, what you just said severely offended me. I need you to apologize. Junpei held Naoya's gaze. That defiant look made Naoya's temper flare. Hey, are you kidding me? Naoya's voice turned cold. What are you? You think you're worthy of mouthing off to me? He raised his arm, fingers clenching into a fist. Cursed energy gathered on its surface. With Junpei's current constitution, a punch from Naoya would hospitalize him with serious injuries at minimum. Take this. Naoya threw a heavy punch straight at Junpei's face. Junpei gasped and instinctively squeezed his eyes shut. But at the critical moment, a third party intervened. Smack! A hand caught Naoya's wrist, stopping his fist cold. It couldn't advance an inch. Naoya was surprised. He tried to pull free, but the grip was iron. The blond man turned his head, and saw a pink-haired boy standing beside him, amber eyes fixed on him coldly. The young master of the Zenin clan. Naoya Zenin, right? Are all the guys from the big 3 families this rude? Reduced to bullying a junior who just arrived. Naoya was momentarily stunned, then his signature smile spread across his face. Oh my, you're Sukuna's vessel, the genius who defeated a special grade curse right after enrolling. Looks like you're not much either. You're far worse than Toji. Chapter 25, The Withdrawn Curse and the Exchange Event. On the outskirts of Tokyo, an open-air hot spring. A short, volcano-headed curse sat on a rock by the water's edge. The green fur-collared cape draped over its body was slightly damp from the steam. It held a cigar in one hand, puffing out smoke in imitation of a human. Phew. Jago exhaled a mouthful of white smoke. Have you thought about it, Jago? Kenjaku's voice came from behind. Jago turned to see Kenjaku in a black trench coat, hands in his pockets, walking slowly toward it. Kenjaku stopped beside Jago, his gaze sweeping across the hot spring surface before landing on a blue figure crouched in the corner of the water. Mahito had his head buried in his knees, curled into a ball. His long blue hair floated on the surface like abandoned seaweed. Ever since Hanami brought him back, he'd maintained this withdrawn state. Not a single word. He was probably completely depressed. Our goal is to create a new world ruled by cursed spirits, Jago said slowly, cigar pinched between its fingers. Since Mahito has experienced Sukuna's terrifying power firsthand, as long as Sukuna is fully resurrected, the era of curses will arrive. Correct. Therefore, I've decided to execute your plan, collect Sukuna's fingers and feed them to Yuji Itadori. Kenjaku smiled and nodded. That makes sense. Although Sukuna seems close to that vessel, someone with tastes that twisted probably just wants to deceive the naive child. Sukuna doesn't seem like the type who makes friends. Geto, what's our next move? Jago asked. First, we need to retrieve all 6 fingers stored in Jujutsu High's vault. Kenjaku raised a finger. According to the intelligence Mekamaru sent back, Jujutsu High is holding an exchange event tomorrow. The sorcerers will be focused on the competition, and there will definitely be gaps in their defense. He glanced at Mahito. I originally wanted Mahito to handle it, but given his current state, he probably can't. Jago, you'll have to go instead. Is that really necessary? Aren't the sorcerers keeping Yuji Itadori specifically to make him consume Sukuna's fingers? Jago was puzzled. The higher UPS at Jujutsu High can't measure Yuji Itadori's limit as a vessel. They don't know how many fingers he can consume before losing control, so they won't risk it. Alright, leave it to me. Jago nodded. Remember to avoid combat as much as possible. I'll arrange for Hanami and the curse users under my command to provide cover. Grab Sukuna's fingers and get out immediately. Knowing Jago's short temper, Kenjaku added that warning specifically. Run away. Why don't I just kill everyone who finds out? Satoru Gojo is at Jujutsu High. That man is the strongest modern sorcerer. Unfortunately, you can't beat him right now. What did you say? Jago's eyes widened. Anger flared across its face. I can't beat that brat. Are you kidding me? Kenjaku spread his hands helplessly, unsure where Jago got its confidence. Mahito had been confident once too. He'd said, try, it won't be as simple as trying, Yuji Itadori. I will completely destroy your dignity here and toy with you like a maggot. Then he got the living daylights beaten out of him and was now completely withdrawn. Jago was just like Mahito. Without being personally educated by Satoru Gojo, it wouldn't be convinced. However, Kenjaku wouldn't give it that chance. Jago was the strongest combat asset he had on hand. He had to prevent it from serving itself up to Satoru Gojo on a silver platter. Alright, let's set aside whether you can beat him. Even if you could defeat Satoru Gojo, there are many other experts at Jujutsu High. You can't fight 100 people alone, can you? Be cautious, Jago. ... Jago pondered for a moment. It made sense. Fine. There's an old Chinese saying, caution is the parent of safety. Speaking of which, Jago fell silent, its gaze drifting to Mahito. Looking at that blue head half submerged in the water, it frowned. Ever since Mahito fought Sukuna's vessel, he's been like this. Not a word. What exactly happened? Kenjaku replied. He was probably beaten into depression. ... Is Sukuna's vessel really that powerful? Mahito doesn't seem like the type to get depressed. Yes, so powerful that I've had to redeploy my plans. Truly dangerous. Jago shook its head and called out, hey, Mahito. Stop sulking, it's just a minor setback. So what if you couldn't beat Sukuna's vessel? After all, he might be a monster capable of containing Sukuna himself. With your talent, you'll definitely surpass him one day. Cheer up. ... Despite clearly hearing Jago's words, Mahito remained motionless. Mahito. Jago called again. No response. Mahito. ... Only steam drifted across the water's surface. The blue figure remained still, as if dead. Mahito, you bastard. A wisp of black smoke rose from Jago's volcanic head. It stood, walked over to Mahito, and violently yanked him out of the water. Splashes flew everywhere as the lifeless curse dangled in midair like a drowned rat. We are going to create a new world and a new humanity. How can you be crushed by 1 or 2 setbacks? It hurled Mahito onto the ground, but he still showed no intention of struggling. Jago crouched down. Mahito, no matter what happened between you and Sukuna's vessel, don't forget. We are curses. Curses born from humanity's negative emotions. We will never bow our heads to humans. Quote. A slight flicker finally crossed Mahito's face. He looked up at Jago, who tossed the cigar aside and turned to leave. If you can't do it, then I'll take over. Let me go meet Sukuna's vessel. Kenjaku reminded him, fighting Sukuna's vessel isn't your mission. Don't let your guard down. Currently, Yuji Itadori was no match for Jago. Excluding the 4 special grade sorcerers, Jago was one of the strongest existences in the current Jujutsu world. However, Yuji Itadori had achieved such astonishing results after only 4 days of enrollment. Surpassing Jago was probably only a matter of time. How truly troublesome, Kenjaku sighed, back at Tokyo Jujutsu High. So, you're Sukuna's vessel. That genius who killed a special grade curse right after enrolling. Naoya Zenin tilted his head, voice dripping with disdain. His cursed energy is thin, not even grade 1 level. However, his cursed energy manipulation is quite precise, and his physical strength is impressive. I can see some similarities with Toji. But he's inferior to Toji. And inferior to me. Toji Fushiguro, known as the Sorcerer Killer. He possessed the physical talent granted by heavenly restriction. Due to his formidable physique, he'd earned that infamous title. When Satoru Gojo was still a student at Jujutsu High, Toji Fushiguro had almost strangled the modern strongest sorcerer in the cradle. After heavily injuring Satoru Gojo, he'd even defeated Suguru Geto, one of the 2 strongest students at Jujutsu High at the time. In Naoya's eyes, Toji Fushiguro was a powerhouse on the same level as Satoru Gojo. Yuji looked at him coldly. Do you lack upbringing? I was asking you a question. Who told you to answer with a question? Earlier, Naoya had used that exact line to mock Junpei Yoshino. Now Yuji returned those same words on Junpei's behalf. You. Naoya frowned. He violently shook off Yuji's hand and stepped back. Projection sorcery activated. The blonde man's figure instantly vanished from his spot. Naoya Zenin was the legitimate son of the Zenin clan. His innate technique was the same as the current clan heads, projection sorcery. Projection sorcery divided 1 second into 24 frames, allowing the user to trace a predetermined set of movements within their field of vision. Simply put, Naoya could execute 24 movements per second using projection sorcery. Every time he completed a set of movements, Naoya gained a layer of acceleration. If the technique stacked continuously, his speed could reach terrifying supersonic levels. Because the predetermined movements were mandatory, failing to complete them would not only negate the acceleration but also freeze the caster for 1 second. The technique heavily relied on calculation and operational ability. But as the genius of the Zenin clan, Naoya utilized its performance to the extreme. Whoosh! In an instant, Naoya became an afterimage, circling behind Yuji. Yuji didn't even have time to turn his head. What incredible speed! Naoya grinned. He threw a heavy punch, smashing toward Yuji's lower back. Crack! But the expected sensation didn't arrive. Naoya froze. His fist felt like it had struck solid metal. The sound of something shattering reached all 3 present. Quote? Yuji's body hadn't moved an inch. The moment Naoya disappeared, he'd mobilized his cursed energy to condense a layer of blood armor across his torso. Projection sorcery granted Naoya unparalleled speed. His punch could turn an ordinary grade 1 curse to mush. But against Yuji Itadori, he'd only managed to crack a small section. His fist itself was forcibly stopped. Smack! While Naoya was stunned, Yuji grabbed his arm. Before he could finish, tremendous force traveled through Naoya's arm. Using sheer brute strength, Yuji lifted Naoya into the air and executed a shoulder throw, smashing him toward the ground. Whoosh! At the last moment, Naoya activated projection sorcery again. Just before his body hit the ground, he broke free from Yuji's grip. He executed a sharp mid-air turn, forcibly adjusting his unbalanced posture. Naoya's feet landed steadily. Though he stumbled back a few steps from momentum, he managed to stabilize. He can adjust mid-air. This guy, no wonder my eldest brother had trouble dealing with him. Yuji lowered his arm, evaluating internally. Naoya Zenin, a supreme grade 1 sorcerer. Probably the strongest in the Zenin clan aside from the clan head. Significantly stronger than Mahito, even stronger than Nanami. Naoya stood in place, rolling his reddened wrist. The expression on his face shifted from contempt to surprise. Was that blood manipulation just now? No wonder you could kill a special grade curse right after enrolling. You've got some skills. Yuji didn't respond. He only watched Naoya coldly. Naoya stared at him for several seconds. Then he suddenly waved his hand dismissively. After that brief clash, both sides recognized the other wasn't to be trifled with. The exchange event is tomorrow. I don't want to waste the energy I specifically saved for the competition on a fight tonight. He shrugged, tone flippant. How about we part ways here? Quote. Fine by me. Yuji also didn't want to keep tangling with Naoya. After all, Junpei was beside him. If he was taken hostage, things would get ugly. But at tomorrow's exchange event, I'll show you what I'm made of. I'll make sure that arrogant, smug face of yours can never smile again. This was truly the first time Yuji had met someone more insufferable than Mahito. He normally didn't insult people, except for guys who bullied his friends. TCH. Then let's wait and see. We'll find out who's really stronger. Naoya snorted coldly, turned, and left the area, finally disappearing into the forest path. Junpei Yoshino stood to the side, gripping his cracked phone tightly. He'd clearly been stunned by what he'd just witnessed. So amazing, both of them. Itadori-kun, that person just now. Ignore him. Yuji shook his head. That guy isn't from Jujutsu High. He came here specifically for the exchange event. You don't have to worry about him bullying you again. Just a self-righteous prick. Come on, I'll take you to the dorms. Okay. Junpei looked at Yuji's back, feeling a sudden surge of security wash over him. He nodded and smiled. You saved me again, Itadori-kun. Quote. It was nothing. Just happened to be there. Then, can I become as strong as you someday, Itadori-kun? Junpei scratched the back of his head. Being a Jujutsu sorcerer depends on talent, but... Yuji dropped the cold expression from earlier and smiled at Junpei. As long as you work hard enough, maybe. Okay, I'll work hard. Chapter 26. Late Night Gaming in the Kill Order. Megumi Fushiguro's dorm was on the first floor. Yuji lived next door to him, and to make communication easier, Junpei Yoshino moved into the room beside them. At 10 p.m., Megumi and Yuji had just returned from off-campus. The three met in the corridor. Yoshino, don't learn from Itadori and play games in the middle of the night. He alone is annoying enough. Megumi sighed. Ah, okay, I won't. Junpei scratched his cheek. Playing games in the middle of the night means. This guy and Sukuna stay up gaming instead of sleeping. The worst part is the soundproofing is terrible. I got woken up multiple times last night. Megumi glared at Yuji, who returned an apologetic look. Is that so? Yuji clasped his hands together. Sorry. Sukuna was making a fuss yesterday. I'll be more careful this time. Anyway, I'm going back to wash up and sleep. Tomorrow's the exchange event. You guys should rest early too. Okay, click. Yuji closed his door and eagerly walked to his computer desk, pressing the power button. The pink-haired boy rubbed his hands in anticipation. It wasn't that he was being frivolous, he just wanted to show Sukuna the joys of life. Earlier that evening, although Sukuna had looked disgusted, he'd accepted the dessert cake Yuji fed him and admitted it wasn't bad. It seemed Sukuna was gradually accepting his existence. Sukuna was good at games. The day before yesterday they'd cleared Sekiro together, so Yuji decided to try something completely new this time. Let's experience a modern setting, he thought, and clicked on a game called Counter-Strike, Global Offensive. Purple, don't fucking hold that angle. They've been hitting mid from the second floor. No, bro, don't block me. Fuck, who threw that flash? I'm blind. Nice shot, bro, nice shot. It was Yuji's first time playing in FPS. After the match ended, he found he'd only killed one person the entire game. A glaring score of 118. Although his reaction time was fast, he didn't know how to control recoil. Whenever he saw an enemy, he just held down left click, and the bullets flew into the sky before he got dropped. 1 kill, 18 deaths. Sukuna appeared, voice dripping with mockery. Hard to imagine a human is sitting at this screen. You don't understand. This game is too complicated. There's so much to remember. Excuses. Sukuna snorted. You're just trash. Then you play. Not interested. Meanwhile, in the room next door, Megumi had just laid down. He pulled the blanket up to his chin, closed his eyes, and adjusted his breathing. He'd been on missions all day. His body was exhausted. His spirit was exhausted, mainly from being tormented by Satoru Gojo and Yuji alternately. Tomorrow was the exchange event. He needed plenty of sleep. Just as he lay quietly on his bed, about to drift into peaceful slumber, a voice came from the next room. Are you playing with your feet? That's enough, Sukuna. It's my first time playing. Dying 18 times your first game. Are you rolling your face on the keyboard? Veins popped on Megumi's forehead. His eyes snapped open. Bang! A loud slam from next door. Followed by Yuji's roar. Then you play. You play. Let's see how well the King of Curses does. I'm not interested. You don't dare. Reverse psychology doesn't work on me. Then don't watch. Go back inside. I want to watch. What's it to you? Itadori, you fucking. Megumi sat up. More sounds came from next door. Look, you died again. Shut up. That guy was camping in the corner. Camping. He stood there for 3 seconds. You ran right past him without seeing him. I was looking somewhere else. Looking where? At the floor. Sukuna, Itadori, Naruto, Sasuke. The argument grew louder and louder, accompanied by clattering keyboard and frantic mouse clicks. Megumi could imagine the scene, Yuji staring at the screen red-faced, Sukuna's mouth on his cheek, the two of them fighting over the keyboard with the same pair of hands. Who? Megumi's heart hurt a little right now. He clutched his chest. Deep breath. Slow exhale. Another deep breath. Slow exhale. Shoot him. What are you looking at him for? I'm aiming. How long are you going to aim? His teammates are here. Why didn't you say so earlier? Why should I help you? Aren't you watching me play? So what? Megumi gripped the blanket tightly. He closed his eyes and began silently reciting the Jujutsu High student rules. Rule 1. Respect teachers. Rule 2. Unite with classmates. Rule 3. No private fighting on campus. Rule 4. He forgot Rule 4, but he remembered Rule 5. No making noise at night that disturbs others' rest. Yuji Itadori clearly hadn't read this rule. I died again. 1 kill, 23 deaths. Are you human? I was just careless. You're trash. Sukuna. Bang. Megumi was completely enraged. You fucking. Although Yuji was intentionally playing poorly to force Sukuna to take over like last time, it genuinely was his first FPS experience. Seeing Sukuna had no interest, Yuji moved the mouse and started the next match. 15 minutes later, his score was 97 this time, a slight improvement, but after the opposing team won the 7th round, the top-fragging foreigner typed a mocking message in all chat. You guys see me? Hello. You guys fucking noob bro, uninstall this game. Yuji glanced at the guy's 173 scoreline. He didn't look like a newbie. More like a smurf. Brat. Quote. Give me the body. Let me play. Weren't you not interested? I am now. Sukuna took over. Having seen parts of Yuji's memories, he understood some English. He typed in all chat. Shut the fuck up. Sukuna put on the headset. While watching Yuji play from inside the body, he'd realized that recoil control required practice, but there was a way to bypass it entirely. Sniper rifles. Sukuna spent his money on an AWP. At round start, the 5 terrorists rushed a site together. His teammates dropped one by one. Only Sukuna remained. Bomb has been planted. Sukuna crouched near CT spawn. Hearing approaching footsteps, the enemy letting their guard down, actively hunting the last survivor. Sukuna calmly peeked from cover. Aimed. Fired. Bang. First kill secured. The terrorists behind tried to trade, but Sukuna retreated into cover. What? The remaining terrorists tried to swarm him, but Sukuna peeked again. Bang. The terrorists were lined up. Collateral kill with 1 shot. The survivors tried to trade, but Sukuna's flick speed was too fast. Before they even saw him, he'd already retreated. How? The last 2 terrorists rushed his cover. Just as they were about to finish him, Sukuna threw a flashbang at the ground and calmly peeked the instant it popped. The blinded terrorists lost all ability to fight back. Sukuna unhurriedly switched to his pistol. Bang. Bang. 2 headshots. Then he walked to the bomb site and successfully defused. The score became 17. Sukuna typed in all chat. Get good. The game continued. Despite the massive deficit, under Sukuna's lead, it ended in a 137 victory. Final scoreline. 427. Guys who are clearly incompetent but love to run their mouths are really annoying. Sukuna stretched, then faded his consciousness, voluntarily returning control to Yuji. Hey, brat, I helped you once tonight. In exchange, you have to teach that brat named Naoya Zenin a proper lesson tomorrow. His tone is just like that guy in the game. Both are extremely annoying. Do you even need to ask? Whether it's for Meika-senpai or to vent your frustration, I'll do it. Yuji leaned back in his chair, looking at the victory on screen. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Also, brat, what? Next time someone insults you, let me take over. You really don't know how to trash talk. But remember, I'm not doing it to help you. I just can't stand arrogant guys like that. Quote. Thank you, Sukuna. Yuji rubbed his nose. A smile spread across his face. HMPH. He didn't know when it started, but Sukuna seemed to be gradually accepting Yuji Itadori's existence. In truth, Yuji had annoyed Ryomen Sukuna at first. Through Yuji's memories, Sukuna had concluded he was just a weak, ignorant brat. Those arrogant words upon their first meeting had made Sukuna deeply dissatisfied. Sukuna's first change of heart came at the juvenile detention center. Even though it was only Yuji's second day, he'd landed 8 consecutive black flashes and exorcised a special grade curse. That made Sukuna see him in a new light. Sukuna only acknowledged those with the demeanor of the strong, or those whose talent astonished him. At first, Yuji made Sukuna feel the latter. But as time passed, during the decisive battle with Mahito, Sukuna felt the former. Sukuna realized his initial dissatisfaction stemmed from not understanding Yuji Itadori enough. He'd thought Yuji was a brat driven by a messiah complex. He wasn't. Yuji Itadori, like Sukuna himself, chose to live for himself. If Sukuna lived to only do what he wants to do, then in that regard, Yuji Itadori was exactly the same. The only difference was that Sukuna neither would nor wanted to care about anyone around him. Yuji would care about everyone and empathize with anyone. It wasn't because Yuji had a messiah complex. It was because doing so made Yuji Itadori happy. Just as Sukuna believed, throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one, and felt happy putting no one in his eyes and toying with others. Yuji genuinely believed saving others made him happy. So even if it was purely for himself, his actions were exactly the same as in his past life. At first, Sukuna couldn't understand this. Now, he was beginning to. That was why he'd reluctantly accepted Yuji Itadori's existence. The talent Yuji displayed indeed qualified him to stand alongside Sukuna. I'm going to rest. Gotta prepare for the exchange event tomorrow. Yuji stood, stretched, and smiled brightly. I had fun playing today, Sukuna. Early the next morning, Tokyo Jujutsu High, a Japanese-style tatami meeting room. Sunlight filtered through gaps in the shoji doors, casting long, slender shadows across the mats. The entire Kyoto school student body had gathered for a strategy meeting to prepare for the upcoming exchange event. Kyoto School Second Year, Maizenin. Grade 2 Sorcerer. Technique. Construction. Kyoto School Third Year, Momo Nishimiya. Grade 2 Sorcerer. Technique. Tool Manipulation. Kyoto School Third Year, Mekamaru. Semi-Grade 1 Sorcerer. Technique. Puppet Manipulation. Kyoto School Third Year, Norito Shikamo. Semi-Grade 1 Sorcerer. Technique. Blood Manipulation. Kyoto School Third Year, Aoi Todo. Grade 1 Sorcerer. Technique. Boogie Woogie. Kyoto School Second Year, Kasumi Miwa. Grade 3 Sorcerer. Technique. None. The above was the participant list, excluding Naoya Zenin. Their abilities each had their own merits. Everyone had their strengths. Everyone had their unique skills. Their fighting spirit and patience were impressive. Their secret weapons could bring unexpected surprises. The group sat around a long table in the center of the room. At the head of the table sat a bald old man leaning on a cane, the principal of the Kyoto school. You will go and kill Sukuna's vessel, Yuji Itadori. The old man spoke slowly. That thing cannot be called human. His death will not be investigated, it will be treated as an accident. Do not show mercy. Do not hesitate. Quote. The topic of killing cast a heavy pall over the room. Everyone present remained silent. Then a blue-haired girl raised her hand. Sukuna's vessel, is he the guy rumored to have soloed a special grade curse on his second day of enrollment? Yes. Kasumi Miwa's sweat dropped. And, you want us to go kill Yuji Itadori? That's right. Us. Chapter 27. The exchange event begins. Ever since Kento Nanami returned to Jujutsu High yesterday at noon, he'd submitted his recommendation to the higher UPS for Yuji Itadori to become a Grade 1 sorcerer. Through Satoru Gojo's behind-the-scenes maneuvering, combined with Yuji's astonishing performance, his Grade 1 certification was issued early the next morning. But, that Yuji Itadori is a Grade 1 sorcerer. Kasumi Miwa's sweat dropped slightly. The task of killing Yuji Itadori will be handled by Naoya Zenin. The rest of you simply need to provide support from the sidelines. The Kyoto school principal stroked his beard and spoke slowly. But, boring. A burly, muscular man stood from his chair, directly interrupting the discussion. Old man, did you call us here this early for this boring crap? Aoi Todo rose, then walked straight to the door and placed his hand on the sliding panel. I'm leaving. Todo, come back here. This is the principal's order. Quote. Bang. Aoi Todo raised his leg and kicked the wooden door open. The panel groaned under the force and collapsed into the corridor. Order me again and see if I don't kill you. Little Takadachan's livestream is starting soon. I have to go watch. Don't notify me of these boring meetings in the future. I have nothing to say to you boring people with no interest in women. Aoi Todo left without looking back. Play your strategies and schemes by yourselves. Boring. Meanwhile, the Tokyo school was also holding a meeting. The second years and first years gathered together, forming a circle and discussing animatedly. Tokyo school first year, Yuji Itadori. Grade 1 sorcerer. Innate technique. Blood manipulation. Tokyo school first year, Megumi Fushiguro. Grade 2 sorcerer questionable. Innate technique. 10 shadows technique. Tokyo school first year, Nobara Kugasaki. Grade 3 sorcerer. Innate technique. Straw doll technique. Tokyo school first year, Junpei Yoshino. Grade 4 sorcerer. Innate technique. Shikigami, moon dregs. Second year, Maki Zenin. Grade 4 sorcerer. Heavenly restriction constitution. Second year, Panda. Grade 2 sorcerer. Cursed corpse. Second year, Toge Inamaki. Semi-grade 1 sorcerer. Innate technique. Cursed speech. The above was the participant list. In addition, the Tokyo school also had a special grade 1 sorcerer sent by the Gojo clan for support. Fushiguro, you look like you didn't sleep well. Maki glanced at the dark circles under Megumi's eyes. I didn't. Megumi gave Yuji a meaningful look. Yuji quickly made an apologetic gesture. The rules are simple. The school has released a large number of grade 2 and grade 1 curses in the forest. Whoever exorcises more grade 1 curses before sunset wins the exchange event. Everyone understand? Maki explained. Everyone nodded. Although we have 2 extra people this year, let's stick to the original battle plan. Panda suggested. Maki looked at Yuji. Itadori, I didn't expect you to get promoted to grade 1 so quickly. Just looking at sorcerer grades, we were undoubtedly a tier weaker than the Kyoto school. They have 2 grade 1 sorcerers including Naoya Zenin, plus 2 semi-grade 1s. Fortunately we have you, so the gap should be 50-50 now. I don't want to lose. We're counting on you this time. Yuji shook his head. No need to thank me. I've disliked that guy Naoya Zenin for a while now. Yesterday, he tried to bully Junpei. Fortunately I stopped him in time. I want to beat him to a pulp too. So I'm not just helping you, I'm helping myself. Hearing this, Maki chuckled. Alright then, thanks for the help. However, her tone turned serious. There's a troublesome guy at the Kyoto school named Aoi Todo. Third year, grade 1 sorcerer. No doubt he's a monster like you. Besides you, the rest of us together might not be able to handle him. Hearing that name, Yuji was momentarily stunned. Then the corners of his mouth slowly curved into a knowing smile. Aoi Todo, isn't that my best bro? In his past life, during the Kyoto sister school goodwill event, he and Todo had fought and become friends. Although that guy's personality was weird and baffling, Yuji knew Aoi Todo was a reliable partner. No need to worry about him. Don't worry, leave Naoya Zenin and Aoi Todo to me. Yuji cupped his fists, voice confident. Megumi frowned. Hey, Itadori, don't push yourself. The other side has 2 grade 1 sorcerers. Naoya Zenin is far beyond an ordinary grade 1. That guy is the heir to the Zenin clan head. Doesn't matter. Fighting one person is the same as fighting 2. Might as well take them both down at once. Yuji shook his head, tone relaxed. Seriously, are all the first years this arrogant nowadays? Though you do have the capital to be arrogant. Panda rubbed his forehead helplessly. Can we trust you, Itadori? The other side has 2 people. Nobara looked at him. Although I don't know much about the other side, I believe if it's Itadori-kun, he can definitely do it. Junpei chimed in from the side. Perhaps because Yuji had saved him 3 times, Junpei always felt a sense of security from him. Yeah, that's right, Yuji nodded. I can do it. Sigh, fine. But we have a special grade 1 sorcerer from the Gojo clan on our side. If you can't win, let us know immediately. Once we win the team battle, things will be much easier. Of course, I won't push myself. Your words sound exactly like you're pushing yourself. Megumi's sweat dropped. Don't worry so much, let's move out. Outside the barrier of Jujutsu High stretched a dense forest. Sunlight filtered through gaps in the branches and leaves. 3 figures stood at the forest's edge, their gazes crossing the overlapping canopy to land on the massive building in the distance. Mekamaru and I will open the barrier for you. When the time comes, just sneak in. Kenjaku, hands in his pockets, explained to the volcano-headed curse and Hanami beside him. Jujutsu High's attention is entirely focused on the exchange event right now. Jago, go to the storehouse and steal Sukuna's fingers and the death paintings. Be quick. As for Hanami, go to the exchange event site and cause some chaos to create an opportunity for Jago. As for me, I can't leave any residual cursed energy within Jujutsu High's barrier for now. Otherwise it will expose our intelligence to Satoru Gojo. Kenjaku spread his hands. However, a grade 1 curse user, 3 semi-grade 1 curse users, and 5 grade 2 curse users under my command will assist you. That's it, you all understand. There's no need for that. Jago grinned, revealing 2 rows of pitch-black teeth. It cut Kenjaku off directly, voice hoarse and deep. I'm enough by myself. Kenjaku narrowed his eyes. I advise you to be careful, Jago. I know who's inside Jujutsu High. Jago's tone was supremely confident. Satoru Gojo, a bunch of small fry sorcerers, and that Sukuna vessel. I'm not a greenhorn like Mahito, getting beaten into depression by some brat. That will never happen to me. Quote. Hearing Jago's inexplicably confident words, Kenjaku stuck out his tongue and shrugged. I hope you won't complain to me. You actually asked me to hold off Satoru Gojo for a minute, when I ask you to help seal him in the future. Anyway, don't drag out the fight. I know, your nagging is annoying. Jago waved dismissively. Its figure, along with Hanami's, immediately vanished from Kenjaku's sight. How truly worrisome. Kenjaku shook his head. The area for the Kyoto Sister School Goodwill event was set within the large forest and a small portion of the Tokyo School grounds. The Tokyo School students were assigned to the forest. The Kyoto School students were in the campus area. Ahem, alright, everyone understands the rules, right? Yuji looked up. Satoru Gojo's lazy voice broadcasted from the speakers overhead. Then, friendship first, competition second. I declare the Kyoto Sister School Goodwill event officially begun. The moment his words fell, the 7 Tokyo School students dashed into the forest like arrows loosed from bows. The group swept past fallen leaves and intertwined roots, shadows of trees retreating rapidly on both sides. Yuji took point, clearing the path. The others followed behind. Itadori, don't run so fast. Megumi shouted from behind. We have to maintain formation. Junpei ran at the very back, struggling slightly. His stamina was inherently inferior to the others, and he'd only recently arrived at Jujutsu High, lacking systematic training. But I absolutely cannot hold Itadori-kun back, he told himself. Meanwhile, the Kyoto school students within the campus also set off. Aoi Todo had not joined the group. Taking his place was the frivolous playboy, Naoya Zenin. The blonde man walked at the front, pace unhurried, as if taking a leisurely stroll. So boring, he muttered. I'm enough by myself, but they insisted on bringing along all these useless people. The Kyoto school students walked behind him in silence, most of them intimidated by his presence. Kasumi Miwa walked at the very back, gripping her katana, face filled with nervousness. Mawasan, are you okay? Momo Nishimiya looked back with concern. Why yeah, I'm fine. Kasumi's voice trembled slightly, just a bit nervous. Nervous, Naoya said without looking back, tone dripping with contempt. It's not like you're being sent to die. You just need to help pick up cursed tools and cheer for me from the back. Hey, what a hypocrite. You women are nothing but appendages and tools for men. Honestly, do you really think you can be of any special use? Naoya spread his hands, speaking as if stating the obvious. Kasumi bit her lip and said nothing. TCH. Naoya snorted, activated projection sorcery, and immediately vanished from his spot. He had a deal with the Jujutsu Higher UPS. His goal for this trip was to kill Yuji Itadori. My divine dogs can distinguish the scent of curses. Everyone, let's split into 2 teams now. One team holds off the Kyoto school students while the other comes with me. Before Megumi could finish, the running group simultaneously felt a surging wave of cursed energy. Was that, just now? A gust of wind swept up the fallen leaves. Everyone present felt violent cursed energy surging from the distance like a tidal wave. Yuji stopped and raised his hand to halt the others. Stop, that guy's coming, step back. Megumi, Nobara, and Junpei almost instinctively scattered to the sides. Panda grabbed the back of Junpei's collar and dragged him to a safe distance. Toge pulled up his collar, ready to use cursed speech at any moment. In the next second, a golden figure whistled out from the overlapping shadows of the trees. Naoya Zenin. His speed was absurd. Among the Tokyo school students, no one except Yuji could even track his afterimage. He crossed over 1,000 meters in the blink of an eye, arriving directly in front of Yuji. Cursed energy gathered on Naoya's right fist. His fist, accompanied by a sonic boom, smashed straight toward Yuji's face. Speed is power. Yuji didn't dodge. Scarlet blood rapidly solidified across his arms. The pink-haired boy raised them, crossing them before his chest. Bang! Naoya, sprinting like a runaway train, slammed his fist onto Yuji's crossed arms. The violent impact sounded like two slabs of steel colliding. The blood armor shattered under the continuously stacking speed. Yuji's body didn't budge an inch, but the soles of his shoes carved two deep grooves through dirt and fallen leaves, sliding back 3 or 4 meters before stopping. Dust filled the air. Birds scattered from the forest. Leaves rustled down, spinning through the air. Naoya retracted his arm, executed a backflip, and landed on a thick branch. Looking down at the pink-haired boy below, he shook his right hand. Knuckles slightly red. Oh my, not a bad reaction. I told you, Yuji Itadori. I would come for you first. Quote. Yuji lowered his arms. Amber eyes stared expressionlessly at Naoya above. So this is the extent of a grade 1 sorcerer. Are you giving me a massage? Chapter 28. A showdown of speed and blood. Meanwhile, in the Jujutsu High dormitories. Aoi Todo's room. Thank you to all the friends of the Takadachin Legion for watching today. Every single gift and comment is Takadachin's motivation to keep moving forward. Well then, that's it for today. Make sure to come watch Takadachin's next stream too. Bye bye moi. The twin-tailed woman in a uniform blew a kiss to the camera, and the stream immediately switched to the ending screen. Aoi Todo, sitting cross-legged on the floor, slowly closed his eyes. Little Takadachin, thank you for your hard work today too. He pressed his palms together, face full of satisfaction. This gentle demeanor was a stark contrast to his behavior when he defied the principal earlier. Buzz, buzz, buzz. His phone rang. The caller was Satoru Gojo. Todo, where are you? The exchange event already started. Exchange event? Yes. Where are you? Aoi Todo slowly looked up at the clock on the wall. 10:15 a.m. He turned to look at the darkened, stream ended, prompt on the TV. Todo, hello, are you listening? I'm listening. Then hurry up and get over here. Gojo-san, I apologize. I didn't mean to be late, but little Takadachin's stream was extended by 15 minutes today. Quote. You were watching a livestream? Satoru Gojo's voice came through the phone. That's right, Gojo-san, next time there's an exchange event, could you schedule it around little Takadachin's stream time? Quote. Satoru Gojo was silent for a moment. It was the first time he'd met someone who could leave him speechless. Anyway, hurry up and get over here. I understand. I heard the Tokyo school has a student named Yuji Itadori recently. Aoi Todo stood and put on his school uniform. Yeah, that's right. The other guys are dead weak, the big 3 families sent an annoying guy, and Okkotsu isn't coming either. This exchange event is really too boring, but Yuji Itadori, let me see if you have the value to replace Okkotsu and fight me. The forest of the Tokyo school campus. Let's stick to the plan. Fushiguro, you, Panda, Inamaki, and Kugasaki form a scouting team and head deep into the forest to find the curses released by the school. Yuji stood at the front of the group, speaking without looking back. Meika-senpai, Junpei, and the support from the Gojo clan will intercept the other Kyoto school members. I'll stay behind to deal with Naoya Zenin. Leave this guy to me. Time's tight. Go. Itadori, be careful alone. The Tokyo school members formed their teams and departed according to plan. Megumi ran a few steps, then stopped and looked back at Yuji's back. The black-haired boy knew the Zenin clan young master's terrible personality well. He shouted, "Itadori, don't lose." Yuji didn't turn his head, but he turned sideways and gave his companions a thumbs up. "Don't worry, I will win." The sound of their footsteps gradually faded. Naoya lifted his leg disdainfully, then landed gracefully from the air about 5 or 6 meters from Yuji. "You let them all leave." Naoya tilted his head. "Are you that confident you can handle me alone?" "I'm not confident." Yuji began cracking his knuckles and rolling his wrists. The blood armor Naoya had shattered earlier began to gradually recover, fresh blood filling the gaps between the clotted pieces. "You alone aren't enough for me. It would be a waste to leave more sorcerers here." "Hey, you're really confident, Sukuna's vessel. I'm curious, where does your confidence come from?" Naoya put his hands in his pockets. "My confidence comes from that ticklish punch you landed on me just now." "Ticklish? You got pushed back 3 or 4 meters. What, if you've got the guts, take a punch from me head on. Let's see if you'll fall into a baby-like sleep, or if you'll just slide back 3 or 4 meters like me." Yuji mocked. "Listen well, brat, this is how you talk trash." Late last night, inside Sukuna's innate domain, Sukuna had been lecturing Yuji on the topic of trash talk. "Don't you dare embarrass me by not knowing how to insult someone when the time comes. Did you hear me?" "Oh," Naoya sighed, "it seems you do have some skills. You're quite sharp-tongued. That blood armor of yours is truly peculiar. Normally, blood manipulation users can only control blood. If they solidify it too much, they risk sudden thrombosis." Blood manipulation was an inherited technique of the big 3 families. As a member of the Zenin clan, Naoya naturally knew its weaknesses. However, with the precision of Yuji's cursed energy manipulation, he could completely avoid that risk. "Clearly, my projection sorcery is stronger than blood manipulation. Usually, blood manipulation users can't do anything against me. That shell of yours is made of blood, right? Drawn from your own body. If I break a layer, you have to draw another. Your blood isn't infinite, neither is your cursed energy." Naoya stepped forward, assuming a fighting stance. His tone turned aggressive. "If one punch can't kill you, what about 50? 100? 1,000? How long can your blood armor last? How long can your body last? You should know, I can throw 24 punches in 1 second." Quote. Yuji narrowed his eyes. Naoya Zenin was different from Mahito. As the legitimate son of the Zenin clan, he was currently 27 years old, a full cycle older than the current Yuji. His strength as a grade 1 sorcerer wasn't for show. Compared to the recently born Mahito, he was clearly much smarter and more astute. Naoya had indeed seen through Yuji's weakness. The blood armor consumed blood and cursed energy. Every time it shattered, Yuji needed to expend cursed energy to condense it again. With Naoya's speed, he could inflict damage before the armor reformed. However, by Yuji's estimation, he believed Naoya absolutely couldn't withstand 3 of his punches either. "I wasn't even warmed up with that punch just now. What a coincidence." "Neither was I." Yuji took a half step back, assuming a fighting stance. Flowing red scale. Stack. He concentrated cursed energy in his extraocular muscles to enhance his dynamic vision, allowing him to clearly track Naoya's movements. The two faced off. The tension was almost explosive. Neither would yield verbally, but after their brief clash yesterday, both knew the gap in their strength was probably 50-50. Extreme speed versus terrifying burst power. Who would win and who would lose, no one would know until they fought to the end. "Come on, Yuji Itadori." Whoosh. The moment his words fell, Naoya's figure vanished. Projection sorcery divided 1 second into 24 frames, pre-designing movements and then executing the technique. The flaw was that if the caster didn't follow the originally set trajectory, they'd be frozen for 1 second. However, any object Naoya touched with his palm would also be subjected to projection sorcery's effect. If they didn't move according to the preset movements, the person he touched would be forcibly frozen for 1 second as well. Yuji looked around. Naoya's afterimages continuously wove through the forest. The blonde man's speed grew faster and faster, fallen leaves swept up by the strong wind his running generated. 68 years of combat experience told Yuji that since he couldn't track the opponent's movements, he could only try to predict his intentions. The blind spot on his side. A surprise attack from above. Quote. No, behind. Yuji twisted sideways, body leaning left. Simultaneously, a strong gust scraped the back of his head, the wind from the punch blowing his hair wild. Naoya's palm brushed past Yuji's ear. TCH. Yuji took several steps back, creating distance. Naoya snorted coldly. If he was forcibly controlled by projection sorcery for 1 second, he'd fall into Naoya's rhythm, continuously bombarded at a frequency of 24 movements per second. Yuji wouldn't give him that chance. You dodged. Not bad reaction. Naoya's tone remained flippant, but his eyes grew more serious. Yuji was about to reply, but at that moment, bang, a gunshot rang out from nowhere. A bullet wrapped in cyan cursed energy shot from the depths of the forest, accurately targeting Yuji. An ambush. Yuji leaned back to dodge. But simultaneously, a sharp whistling sound came from above. Several arrows infused with cursed energy descended from the sky. Yuji used the momentum of his backward lean to fall, then supported himself with his hands, smoothly dodging the arrows with a series of back handsprings. However, as he retreated, a blue-haired girl was crouched in the bushes directly behind him, gripping a sheathed katana, holding her breath. New shadow style. This strike, I've practiced it thousands of times. My teacher said 1 strike is enough to kill a grade 1 curse. I don't know if it's true because I've never had the chance to draw my sword against one. But now I'm drawing against a grade 1 sorcerer. Batto. The blade flashed, aimed straight at the back of Yuji's neck. But the pink-haired boy stabilized his posture in time. Clang. The expected sound of blade cutting flesh didn't occur. Instead, a crisp ring like steel striking steel. Kasumi Miwa's eyes went wide. No way. Yuji stood before her. His body was leaning back slightly, maintaining an awkward posture after losing balance, but his right hand firmly gripped her blade. So strong, he caught it with one hand. This is too damaging to my pride. Kasumi's lips trembled. Her pupils reflected the calm face of the pink-haired boy. Nice sword. After speaking, Yuji gently twisted the hand gripping the blade. Crack. The finely forged katana snapped in half. Yuji held the broken piece and casually tossed it aside. I advise you to step back a bit, senpai. Why you? Kasumi was terrified by the scene. She stumbled back several steps, nearly falling flat. Step back, Miwa. Leave him to me. A mechanical voice came from above. Boom. A figure descending from the sky crashed onto the ground not far from Yuji, sending dirt and rubble flying. The mechanical cursed corpse covered in brown iron plating raised its arm, aiming at Yuji. Mekamaru. The metal plates on his palm flipped open, revealing a pitch-black cannon barrel. Target confirmed. Grade 1 Sorcerer Yuji Itadori. Commencing annihilation mission. Simultaneously, the other Kyoto school members arrived. Norito Shikamo and Maizenin appeared, crouching on thick branches surrounding Yuji, one holding a bow and arrow, the other a revolver. Yuji looked up and saw Momo Nishimiya, the student sitting on a cursed tool broom flying overhead to scout. Including Kasumi from earlier, 6 people total. 1 grade 1 sorcerer and 2 semi-grade 1 sorcerers. Yuji took in everyone's position. I see, your Kyoto school principal sent you to kill me, right? Yuji had always understood the higher-ups' attitude toward him. Seeing this lineup, he understood their intentions. Norito Shikamo spoke. So you knew. After all, it would be too unreasonable for Naoya Zenin to come here to die alone. Although he's an idiot, he shouldn't be that much of an idiot. Hey, who are you calling an idiot? Naoya spoke up in dissatisfaction. Whoever answers is the idiot. The corners of Naoya's mouth twitched. He didn't reply. Since you know our goal, you should understand we won't let you go back alive. Norito Shikamo took several arrows from the quiver on his back, fingers resting on the bowstring. Is that so? Yuji chuckled lightly. 6 people. 6 different angles of attack. 5 different innate techniques. Projection sorcery, blood manipulation, puppet manipulation, tool manipulation, construction. In other words, Yuji had to defeat them one by one while surrounded by 6 people. He raised his right hand, palm facing up. The blood armor solidified on his arm gradually melted, transforming into flowing blood. A wisp of white steam rose. The blood compressed entirely above his palm, finally condensing into a blood orb. Clap. Just this blood wasn't enough. Blood manipulation. Convergence. Yuji clapped his hands together, veins bulging on his arms. The cyan cursed energy within his body continuously transformed into fresh blood. Controlled by his will, this blood gushed from behind him, swirling around him, finally gathering entirely into his palms. Quote. Quote. Blood manipulation. Norito Shikamo's normally squinted eyes went wide. A drop of cold sweat rolled down his forehead. This formidable cursed energy, what an oppressive feeling. Even more than me, the legitimate son of the Kamo clan. Watch closely. This is how blood manipulation is used. Perhaps affected by the oppressive force, everyone present failed to interrupt Yuji's casting in time. As he spoke, the blood orb in his palms compressed to the limit. White steam rose from it. Get back quickly, he's going to. Norito Shikamo shouted hastily. Even though he was also a blood manipulation user, his mastery wasn't even half of Yuji's. However, he was the only one present who could understand the terrifying nature of this move. Piercing blood. Whoosh. The blood orb in the pink-haired boy's hands exploded. However, unlike the usual piercing blood, known for its speed and burst power, forming a blood arrow to pierce the opponent, the blood orb in Yuji's hands bloomed. With the orb as the center, countless slender blood arrows shot out from his palms in all directions. Their speed was almost impossible to distinguish. 5 identical blood arrows adjusted their angles mid-air as if manipulated by an invisible hand, finally shooting toward different targets simultaneously. Except for Kasumi behind Yuji, everyone present felt the arrows approaching. Firing multiple piercing bloods at once. Norito Shikamo's eyes filled with disbelief. A homing piercing blood whose direction can be freely controlled. Impossible. I've never seen this before, and it's not recorded in the clan's secret texts. Of course the Kamo clan's secret texts wouldn't record this move, because it was an original technique created by Yuji Itadori. Although doing so consumed enormous cursed energy, he had to clear out these irrelevant grunts. Crack. Whoosh. So fast. Mekamaru's arm, the one he used to fire his palm cannon, was forcibly severed by piercing blood. The bow and arrow in Norito Shikamo's hands shattered. Mai Zenon's revolver was completely destroyed. The broom in Momo Nishimiya's hands was snapped in half. The blonde girl fell directly from the sky. Only Naoya agilely dodged the continuously tracking piercing blood until the blood arrow's power gradually weakened and dissipated. Monster. This guy, no wonder he can suppress Sukuna. Although Norito Shikamo had sensed the approaching piercing blood, he couldn't react in time at all. He dropped the useless bow and muttered to himself. But he clearly had the chance to heavily injure us just now, yet he deliberately only aimed at the weapons in our hands. A piercing blood that instantly incapacitated 2 semi-grade 1 sorcerers and 2 grade 2 sorcerers. The Kyoto school members showed difficult expressions. Clearly, they realized the Yuji Itadori before them was not on the same level. Is this guy really human? No expression could be seen on Mekamaru's cursed corpse face, but his voice still conveyed shock. Can someone who enrolled 4 days ago really do this? Are you kidding me? Maki really found a strong backer. Mai Zenon's face was covered in cold sweat. It hurts. Momo Nishimiya, having fallen from the sky, finally crashed into a bush. Monster. Norito Shikamo felt the urge to retreat. A sorcerer of this level was not someone they could deal with. That's enough. Yuji dusted off his palms. Now you have no weapons. Can this farce end now? Unrelated personnel, step back. Chapter 29, Projection Sorcery vs. Blood Manipulation. Hey, did you guys hear me? Unrelated personnel, step back. Naoya Zenon let out a long sigh, expression impatient, urging the students surrounding Yuji. He'd originally thought these people could help wear down Yuji Itadori. Instead, they got instantly defeated the moment they stepped up. How embarrassing. However, this made Naoya more willing to face Yuji with 120% focus. This kid is not simple. Naoya Zenon only acknowledged 3 Jujutsu sorcerers in his life. The first was Toji Fushiguro. The second was Satoru Gojo. The last was his father, Naobito Zenon. Growing up with a silver spoon in his mouth, he believed he stood above all other sorcerers except those 3. But the strength Yuji Itadori displayed made him reconsider. This guy is the same type as Toji. Although he's not as good as Toji yet, if he's allowed to keep growing, he could at least reach my level. HMPH. Sukuna's vessel is terrifying, but I won't admit he's enough to catch up to Toji. Naoya spread his hands. You're all just a hindrance. You've been busy this whole time and haven't even touched the hem of his clothes. You're just embarrassing yourselves. Get lost, all of you. I will kill Yuji Itadori. Possessing such formidable talent, this child absolutely could not be left alive. Quote. Retreat. We're no match for him. Norito Shikamo also didn't want to keep losing face in front of Naoya. He led the group in a hurried retreat from the forest. The noisy battlefield instantly fell silent. Yuji raised his hand and cracked his neck, bones making crisp sounds. Now it's just you and me. Exactly what I wanted. With those pieces of trash around earlier, I felt embarrassed to fight seriously. Naoya revealed a frivolous smile. Besides, you weren't fighting seriously either, were you? If you were, you could have taken their lives long ago. Yuji didn't refute this. Hehe. Fools like you are born to be used by others. It's because of this personality that you'll never become Toji. Whoosh. Naoya's voice echoed around, but his figure vanished. Toji this, Toji that. Are you gay or something? Although Yuji knew very little about Toji Fushiguro, based on what Maki had revealed in the future, he knew the man was Megumi Fushigiro's father and the first-generation heavenly tyrant. What do you know, brat? The only person who can stand at the same height as Toji and Satoru Gojo is me. Naoya's voice seemed to come from all directions, making it impossible to pinpoint his exact location. Yuji's eyes darted rapidly, tracking his movements. The blonde man had become a blue afterimage. With Yuji's position as the center, he continuously wove back and forth through the forest at a speed difficult to capture with the naked eye. This guy, even if his technique hadn't stacked to its limit, Naoya's current speed had already reached subsonic levels. Earlier, they'd had a brief initial clash. Naoya had tried to circle behind him and activate projection sorcery through touch, forcing Yuji to be frozen for 1 second, but Yuji had dodged. Clearly, Naoya had learned his lesson. He wasn't rushing to attack. He was waiting. Maintaining high-speed movement didn't consume much energy for him, but tracking those movements kept the muscles in Yuji's eyes continuously tense. Human eyes get tired, whether from the front, behind, the sides, or above. With Naoya's astonishing speed, he could launch an attack from any unexpected angle in an instant. Time ticked by, as Yuji's eyes gradually grew sore, in the split second of a blink when he failed to capture the movement. Smack! Naoya appeared beside Yuji like a phantom and lightly patted his right shoulder. Projection sorcery. The target touched by Naoya must move according to his preset movements, otherwise they'd be frozen for 1 second. Yuji had absolutely no way of knowing Naoya's preset movements. He would definitely be forcibly frozen. The next instant, under projection sorcery's effect, Yuji's body was stuffed into a mirror that appeared out of thin air, like a bug sealed in amber, completely unable to move. 1 second was enough for Naoya to execute 24 movements. Within 1 second, he could throw a full 24 punches. Naoya grabbed the top of the mirror with one hand while the other gathered cyan-cursed energy flames. Bang! A punch smashed into Yuji's abdomen. The pink-haired boy's body shot out from the shattered mirror surface, flying backward like a cannonball. The blood armor on Yuji's abdomen was shattered. His continuously flying body eventually crashed into a pine tree. Bang! The thick trunk snapped cleanly in the middle. Wood chips flew. The canopy crashed to the ground. But Yuji's body continued its momentum, flying further backward. Bang! 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 Countless old trees collapsed one after another like dominoes in less than a second. Wood chips and fallen leaves danced in the air. Before Yuji could even land, Naoya's speed was a step faster than him flying backward through midair. The blonde man arrived in front of Yuji in an instant, then jumped and kicked the pink-haired boy in the abdomen. Bang! To defeat Naoya Zenin, who possessed subsonic speed in his base state, Yuji had 2 methods. The first was like Maki Zenin, the awakened heavenly tyrant, throwing punches in the gaps between Naoya's 24 movements. But the prerequisite for the first method was being able to see Naoya's movements clearly and having physical attributes far surpassing his. So Yuji chose the second method. The second method was like his eldest brother Choso. First use some means to slow Naoya down, then use supernova at point-blank range for a one-hit kill. Piercing blood required a specific hand sign to fire. Even if its speed matched the speed of sound, Naoya could easily dodge it. To defeat Naoya, he could only look for an opportunity to get close and activate supernova. Yuji was certain Naoya couldn't withstand more than 3 of his attacks. So now he needed to find an opportunity to close the distance. Boom! Yuji's body instantly crossed 100 meters like a cannonball, his back smashing heavily against the rock wall of an artificial rockery at the forest's edge. Rocks shattered. Dust filled the air. A crater several meters deep appeared. Before Yuji could adjust, Naoya arrived in front of him again. Bang! A heavy blow landed on the pink-haired boy's abdomen. PFF'd. Yuji spat out stomach acid. He tried to struggle, to throw a punch in counterattack, but Naoya grabbed his wrist a step faster. Projection sorcery activated. Yuji turned into a mirror again. Unfortunately, my preset movements are all based on the premise of your counterattacks. Naoya grinned sinisterly. A storm of punches rained down on Yuji's body. Bang, bang 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 bang. The rocks behind Yuji continuously shattered, cracks spreading outward from his back. The entire rockery trembled, rubble exploded, dust filled the air, blood splattered. The sin of the weak is not knowing what true strength is. So what if you have absolute talent? Yuji Itadori, you lack the self-awareness and spirit of a strong person. Ridiculously trying to pity those lowly weaklings. Useless, 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 useless. Bang 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 bang. The strong must ruthlessly humiliate the weak. Naoya's punches continued. Every part of Yuji's torso became a target. The 24 movements per second technique allowed him to throw 24 punches in 1 second. Naoya threw punch after punch, each one adding a new wound on top of the previous. Bang 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 bang. Initially, Naoya maintained his sinister smile. However, after several full minutes, his expression changed. Wait, how is this guy so durable? Bang 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 bang. The combo continued. If it were an ordinary grade 1 sorcerer using cursed energy to enhance their body, taking this many punches, they should have passed out long ago. Naoya sensed something was wrong. But from the feedback of his strikes, he could confirm Yuji hadn't activated his blood armor. Hadn't used any means besides pure cursed energy defense. Bang! With a right uppercut, Yuji's head jerked backward. He spat blood. His eyes finally began to roll back. I see, so he's just purely durable. Nothing special about that. It's over, Yuji Itadori. Naoya felt relieved. The speed of his punches recovered somewhat. Since he was just purely durable, he'd just keep hitting until he lost consciousness. Smack. In that instant, Naoya felt a gripping sensation on his arm. He looked down and found that Yuji, who should have been powerless to resist, was gripping his wrist. Quote. Question mark exclamation mark quote. Naoya was forcibly frozen for 1 second. At that moment, the pink-haired boy raised his other hand, which he'd kept tightly clenched, in front of Naoya's face. He opened his palm. Inside was a blood orb that had been gathering through convergence all this time, without leaking the slightest bit of cursed energy. You seem to be having quite a bit of fun hitting me just now. The frozen Naoya rolled his eyes to look at Yuji. Only then did he realize that all the bruises and wounds he'd inflicted on the pink-haired boy's face had completely vanished. The Yuji Itadori before him was completely unharmed. Impossible. Supernova, Yuji said slowly. Squelch. The blood orb exploded. Countless tiny blood clots sprayed out like a shotgun blast, enveloping Naoya's entire upper body. Even if Naoya broke free from the restraint on his arm within that short second, the point-blank blood explosion left him completely unable to defend. Ah! A short scream escaped Naoya's mouth. His torso suffered multiple piercing wounds from the tiny blood beads. Before his scream could fully leave his mouth, Yuji raised his right fist. From the corner of his eye, the blond man caught sight of the cyan cursed energy on the boy's fist, right in front of him, turning pitch black. Projection sorcery. Oh no, too late. Black flash. Bang. The sound of shattering bone echoed. Naoya's jawbone cracked under the impact. His teeth collided. Under the force of the punch, his eyes rolled back, and his unbalanced body flew backward. Chapter 30. The Fall of the Arrogant. Naoya Zenon's body rolled continuously across the ground, plowing a long trench through dirt and fallen leaves until his back crashed into a thick tree trunk, finally coming to a complete stop. PFF'd. Gak. The blond man spat out blood. The black flash just now had hit him squarely in the face. He hadn't even had time to mobilize his cursed energy and concentrate it at the point of impact. He lay between the tree roots, facing the sky. A large portion of his haori had been shredded, and bloody holes covered his chest and arms. A moment later, he finally pieced together what had happened. Reverse curse technique. If he had to find a reason, Naoya could only guess reverse curse technique. He couldn't believe that Yuji Itadori, a student enrolled for only 5 days, could have learned such an advanced ability. In the current Jujutsu world, The only ones capable of actively using the reverse curse technique were the 3 registered special grade sorcerers and Jujutsu Kaisen designated medical personnel, Shoko Ieri. Yuji had been using the reverse curse technique to heal himself from the very beginning. Not after getting hit, but healing while fighting. The wounds from Naoya's punches couldn't even outpace this guy's regeneration. Yuji Itadori, you've been fucking acting since the very beginning. Not just when he was passively taking a beating. Naoya deduced it was probably even earlier, perhaps from the moment he'd touched Yuji to freeze him after driving away the Kyoto school members. At that moment, Yuji had already prepared to take a beating passively. Taking over 1,000 of my punches just to land one punch on me. What kind of fucking psycho are you? Naoya was left speechless. The sound of footsteps approached. Unhurried, rustling on the fallen leaves. Naoya Zenin, you shouldn't be down so quickly, right? I have a question I want to ask you. Although Yuji's punch just now had been immense, Naoya was also a grade 1 sorcerer. It was impossible for him to go down so quickly. Ha, Naoya spat out bloody froth. Although he looked quite disheveled, he could still fight. He had a chance to turn this around. As long as he didn't get touched by Yuji again, the ultimate victory would be his. Now he would fight a war of attrition. Besides the close-range scattering supernova, Yuji had absolutely no way of touching him. He wouldn't rush for success anymore. Next, he would act like a scientist using tweezers to peel an eggshell bit by bit, ensuring the membrane underneath wasn't pierced and the egg white didn't leak out, slowly wearing Yuji Itadori down until he was dead. Whoosh! Naoya staggered up from the ground, activating projection sorcery. I don't understand what you're talking about. Yuji stood motionless. What exactly is the conflict between you and Meika-senpai? Naoya was taken aback. He originally didn't want to engage with Yuji's question, wanted to focus entirely on the battle. However, on second thought, his projection sorcery needed time to stack to maximum speed. Currently heavily injured, his speed was far from peak. He might as well play along with the conversation and wait for the right moment. This stinking brat actually dares to steer things toward a result favorable to me. Does he really think victory is in his grasp? Naoya cursed inwardly. Don't you and Meika-senpai hate each other? Yuji asked. Hate each other? Naoya sneered, his voice seemingly coming from all directions. Is Maki even worthy? I don't know of any conflict between us. If there has to be one, maybe it's because she unilaterally hates me. Yuji remained standing in the center of the forest, allowing Naoya to continuously circle him. The pink-haired boy stood completely still. In the Zenin clan, only those with powerful innate techniques are respected. Maki knows this too. She probably hates me because I bullied her. Can't be helped. The strong preying on the weak is the basic law of this world. The strong can humiliate the weak at will, perfectly justified. Besides her, I basically bully anyone I don't like. In the Zenin clan, possessing projection sorcery makes me the law. Naoya's tone was supremely contemptuous. Women are inherently breeding tools or appendages to men. Maki has no innate technique, no power. What right does she have to stand in front of men? Does she think leaving the Zenin clan proves anything? What can she prove? That trash is still trash no matter how hard they try. Dead wrong. That's why, from the very beginning, I never took Maki seriously. Yuji closed his eyes and took a deep breath. No, Naoya Zenin, the only one dead wrong is you. What did you say? Naoya frowned while weaving through the forest. I don't discriminate against anyone, regardless of gender, race, or whether they possess cursed energy. Only petty people like you look down on this and that. I'm not saying you rely on belittling others to elevate yourself, because you probably don't even think that way, do you? You genuinely look down on everyone from the bottom of your heart. Yuji shook his head, a hint of pity in his expression. However, you who look down on everyone, why were you punched to the ground by me, someone who's only been enrolled for 5 days? You consider yourself one of the strong, but that's ultimately just your fantasy. You're not strong at all. Neither mentally nor physically. You, Naoya gritted his teeth, grinding them audibly. His eyes widened, bloodshot veins appearing in the whites. Then I'll prove it to you right now. Prove how foolish you are. Yuji Itadori, you will be defeated by me. Through projection sorcery, Naoya continuously accumulated speed. His acceleration had almost reached its limit. Every step generated a gale. His figure drew countless blue streaks of light through the forest. Wherever the light passed, fallen leaves swept up, bushes blew away, and even trees as thick as bowls collapsed one by one. Mach 1. The speed of sound, 340 meters per second, was the limit Naoya could reach right now. The strong preying on the weak is fundamentally a flawed concept. Yuji continued to stand his ground without changing expression, elaborating on his philosophy. As if Naoya could no longer threaten him. The strong should protect the weak. After the weak grow stronger under the shade of the strong, they too will understand this principle, and go on to protect even more weak people. Naoya couldn't help but speak up. Yuji Itadori, are you sleepwalking? Do you think this world is a fairy tale? His figure drew one blue ring after another around Yuji. His speed was so fast that the afterimages connected into lines of light. These continuously weaving lines now resembled an invisible golden cage, trapping Yuji right in the center. The weak don't deserve protection. The weak only deserve to be trampled, enslaved, eliminated. What makes you think the weak deserve protection? Because you are also human, Naoya Zenin. Yuji spoke calmly, maintaining his closed-eye expression. Because when you were just born, as an infant, you were also a weakling. Didn't you, as an infant, grow up under the protection of others? Your parents, your family, your attendants. If it weren't for them, how could you be alive today? Since you were once a weakling too, you have no right to say things like, the weak deserve to be humiliated. Because everything you have today was obtained by standing on the shoulders of others. Quote. Naoya clenched his fists, knuckles almost digging into his palms until they bled. His chest began to heave violently due to an indescribable emotion welling up from within. He understood now why, even though Yuji clearly displayed ample strength and talent, he still hated Yuji Itadori. Not because he was Sukuna's vessel. Not because he sided with Maki Zenin. It was because Yuji Itadori always appeared so righteous. This pretentious posture made Naoya feel incredibly disgusted. That's enough. Just die, Yuji Itadori. Speed is power. Naoya moved. His figure broke away from the golden cage, like a high-speed train, charging straight at Yuji with unstoppable momentum. He was going to use the maximum speed he could muster in this life to crush Yuji Itadori into a pulp. Yuji Itadori, he roared as he charged. Trees collapsed like dominoes in his wake. In less than half a second, Naoya had already arrived right in front of Yuji. Time seemed to slow. Naoya raised his arm, concentrating all his cursed energy into this one punch. In his perspective, that idiot Yuji even had his eyes closed. I win. Cursed technique reversal. Quote. Reverse blood. Using the blood he'd previously injected into the opponent's body as a medium, he forcibly controlled the opponent's blood to flow backward. Naoya's fist halted, his pupils contracted, warm blood gushed from his facial orifices. Because he violated projection sorcery's rules, Naoya's body was frozen in midair before he could fall, forcibly suspended for 1 second. What kind of technique is this? Why have I never seen this move before? Naoya Zenin. The blonde man looked at Yuji through blurred vision. You clearly had a chance to defeat me. Our strengths are evenly matched. Your speed against my burst power. Who would win and who would lose, no one could know until the end. There's only one reason for your defeat. Yuji raised his right fist. Cyan cursed energy gathered, then shifted from cyan to pitch black. Black lightning arcs danced between his fingers, emitting an unusually loud crackle. Your capacity. The fist landed squarely on Naoya Zenin's face. Is too small. Bang. Black flash. Naoya's face caved in, his body leaned backward under the immense impact, and he was finally pinned to the ground by Yuji's fist. Boom. The ground within a radius of several meters caved in as if struck by a meteorite, cracks spreading outward like a spider web. Naoya's head was embedded in the dirt, his blonde hair matted with blood and mud. His eyes rolled back, he lost consciousness completely. Naoya Zenin could no longer fight. Quote. The wind blew through the forest, leaves rustling. Yuji retracted his fist, the blood mixed on it dripping onto the ground. He'd anticipated this outcome long ago. Yuji turned, intending to leave the unrecognizable forest without looking back. However, just as he was about to do so, he suddenly heard something tearing through the air. Something was approaching him at high speed. Yuji raised his arms to defend. Bang! A massive force smashed into his arms, like being hit head-on by a truck at full speed. Yuji's feet plowed 2 deep grooves in the ground, his body sliding back 5 or 6 meters before stopping. He looked up at the position he'd just been standing in, and found that his attacker was a muscular, burly man over 1.9 meters tall. "Seems I'm late. You guys already finished fighting." The burly man revealed 2 rows of white teeth. "You're Yuji Itadori, right? I'm a 3rd year from the Kyoto school, Aoi Todo." Read Advain chapters on Patreon.com Kaizo 247. To be continued. Thank you all for watching.